After hearing the silly rumors from those kids, little puppy peeked his head out to see who this group was. He then realized they were all unfamiliar faces, meaning they were from another class. Knowing they weren't his classmates, Liu Yayu got even more annoyed. Why would this group suddenly start a rumor like that? Little puppy angrily stomped his feet on the stairs. The sound he made attracted the attention of the gossiping students. Then Yu didn't say a word but just glared at the whole group. Caught in the act of talking badly about someone, and getting glared at by the person himself, made the kids' faces turn pale. Every one of them went silent, not daring to make a peep. Li Yayu returned to class, still fuming about what had just happened. He was both angry and confused. Could it be because he and Liu were too close? Is that why they were misunderstood to be dating? Should he keep his distance from that sly fox from now on? While thinking, little puppy tore open the wrapper of the pastry Liu gave him. After opening it, he brought it to his mouth and took a forceful bite, as if he wasn't biting the pastry, but biting that fox named Liu. That's how he vented his anger. Even though the fox wasn't the one who started the rumor, little puppy blamed everything on Liu. Even if they were rumored to be dating, why did people say he was the one clinging to Liu? On what grounds? It was clearly that guy who was clinging to him. Li Yayu was extremely upset. Could it be that after this incident, he would be gossiped about and ostracized again like before? That painful past, Li Yayu didn't want to remember it at all. Back then, to overprotect little puppy, his older brother decided to enroll him in a school for herbivorous beastmen. It was full of herbivores there. He was the only omnivore. So, wherever Li Yayu went, he was discriminated against and gossiped about. Questions like, why is he studying at this school? And why is he so shameless? Etc. Li Yayu heard it so often he was sick of it. He was clearly just a little puppy. He was clearly just going to school normally. He clearly hadn't done anything bad or wrong. So, for what reason? What right did they have to condemn and shun him? Just thinking about it made little puppy's cute little ears want to droop. The pastry in his mouth suddenly tasted less delicious. Little puppy was angrily munching on the pastry in class, lost in thought, not noticing Liu entering from the classroom door. He walked straight to Liu's seat and asked him if the pastry was good, then instinctively reached out to pat little puppy's head. But before his hand could touch him, it was violently slapped away by Li Yayu. It's not good, little puppy replied coldly. Liu was bewildered by little puppy's extreme reaction. Who ticked you off to make you act so aggressive all of a sudden? Li Yayu's loud action and voice also attracted the attention of other classmates. They looked over, covering their mouths and putting their heads together, whispering to each other. Li Yayu noticed the reaction of his classmates, which made him even more annoyed. He just wanted to scream at Liu, "Stop clinging to me, can't you see everyone is looking?" But he couldn't scream. Liu didn't know anything about this. He couldn't just yell in his face because of a rumor. If Liu didn't say anything, that fox Liu wouldn't know what was going on. He just thought little puppy was being sulky because something unhappy had happened. So he remained calm and said, "Oh, right. Next is biology class. We have to form groups for an experiment." Before the invitation to team up was even fully out, little puppy immediately bristled and said in a loud voice, "I'll be in a group with Ah Hong." Alright, since the guy was being so sulky, Liu had to give in. He sighed sadly, turned around, and went back to his seat, leaving little puppy staring after him with an extremely annoyed expression. In the afternoon, after the school bell rang, the students gathered in groups to go home together. As they walked, they chatted about the upcoming autumn trip on the weekend. Every one of them looked excited and eager. Most of the students had already left. Only then did Li Yayu put on his backpack to go home. But before he could leave, Liu approached him with a stack of papers. That sly fox smiled with crescent eyes and said, "Classmate little puppy, stay for tutoring today. I've brought new problem sets for you." Hearing about doing homework made little puppy jump out of his skin, let alone staying behind to do homework. With his rumored dating partner, does he want the whole school to gossip about it or what? Li Yayu was trying to avoid Liu, so there was no way he would agree to stay and do homework. So, in a flash, when Liu wasn't paying attention, the little puppy scurried away as fast as he could and zipped out the door with the excuse of a club meeting. The sly fox stood there, watching the hurried figure run away, feeling both sweaty and confused. What's up with little puppy all of a sudden? He's been avoiding him all afternoon. Liu couldn't understand it. But just then, he heard some classmates pointing and gossiping behind his back. It was only then that the sly fox felt something was not right. These past few days, the atmosphere around him has indeed been very strange. If there's something you don't know, you just have to ask to find out. After making his decision, Liu turned around and rushed towards the two female classmates gossiping behind him. Right away, using his perfect disguise, he smiled widely and asked the two girls, "What are you talking about? Can you tell me, too?" Afraid that his smiling face wasn't enough to coax the secret out of them, Liu even drooped his ears and made a pitiful, sad face, saying, "For the past few days, it seems like everyone has been talking about me or something, and it's making me really anxious." Two naive teenage girls, seeing a handsome boy react like this, How could they possibly resist? So after a moment of careful consideration, they finally hesitantly revealed it to Liu. Everyone is saying, the girl with purple hair began hesitantly, but she stopped halfway through. Her friend next to her had to add, they're saying you're dating classmate Li Yeyu. Holy smokes, hearing that, Liu couldn't pretend to be sad anymore. Now he was genuinely sad and shocked. That what are you people talking about? Look on Liu's face is pretty funny. When you were teasing little puppy, did you ever think there'd be a day people would start rumors about you? While Liu over there found out everything, Li Yayu over here had already made a clean escape. To the club room, the little puppy sighed in relief that Liu didn't follow him. But, as soon as he opened the door, he heard the girls inside arguing heatedly about something. The three girls were talking so much, they didn't notice little puppy coming in. It wasn't until the puppy said, I'm here, that all three of them turned, mouths agape, to stare at him. The atmosphere suddenly became frighteningly silent. After a moment of awkward silence, the three girls who had started all the commotion these past few days grabbed each other by the shoulders and headed for the door in a line. As they were leaving, the girls made up an excuse, saying there were no club activities today, so they were going to get their backpacks. Li Yayu could just stay and do his own thing first. Little puppy looked at the three girls' strange behavior and didn't get it at all. Has everyone been acting this weird lately? Is it a TikTok trend or something? Lil Yayu didn't understand but couldn't be bothered to ask. However, he had no idea that the three girls who said they were going to get their backpacks didn't actually leave. They were hiding outside the door, watching the puppies back in the room and whispering, Did he hear anything just now? No way he heard. If he had heard, little puppy would have left already. He wouldn't be standing there sighing so pitifully. Leo is so hurt. Everyone is avoiding him because of that stupid rumor, like he's the plague. Little puppy didn't do anything to anyone. Could it be that all the girls now see him as an imaginary rival in love? Lil Yayu was lost in thought and reached out to grab a notebook from the pile of books on the shelf. He wanted to find something to kill time and feel less sad. While rummaging around, Li Yayu's hand happened to touch Ai's sketchbook. He remembered this sketchbook clearly. That girl often carried it with her, writing and drawing something in it. Normally, Li Yayu wouldn't touch other people's things, but today, he was very sad. So, by some twist of fate, or bad luck, he pulled out the sketchbook and opened it to see what was drawn inside. He wouldn't have known if he hadn't looked. After one look, his whole worldview was shattered, opening up a new world. Little puppy's pupils had to dilate immediately. Holy crap, how did he manage to open it right to the page? With well-defined abs that are not suitable for those under 18? How could Li Yayu not be shocked? But the more shocking thing was yet to come. Although Tai's drawing skills were still amateurish, this hairstyle was definitely Liu. No doubt about it, the character with Liu's head was showing off, his strong chest muscles, and even had a line saying, Yayu, are you satisfied with what you see? Oh my god, it didn't even stop there. Looking a bit lower, Yayu was shocked to level 100. The person with sparkling eyes like the female lead in some old 18+ manga was supposed to be him. Moreover, he wasn't wearing clothes either, and was shyly blushing and stammering like a maiden. Ah, brother Liu is so handsome. What the hell? Li Yayu was so shocked by the sexy details in a high school girl's notebook that he felt like his eyes were going blind. The internal shock was so overwhelming that little puppy couldn't even function. He didn't know what this was, but it was indeed something extremely terrifying. And an even more terrifying thing was yet to come. While Li Yayu was looking at his friend Tai's 18+ book, Liu suddenly appeared out of nowhere right behind little puppy. He had just called out, Liao Yu, when his eyes were already glued to the notebook in the puppy's hands. Then, both of them started sweating bullets. This time, even with 100 mouths, they couldn't possibly clear up this misunderstanding. Even jumping into the Yellow River couldn't wash away this injustice. Liu was speechless after seeing the contents of the notebook, not knowing what to say. After hearing the rumor, he had wanted to find Li Yayu to explain things, but when he got there, he found his rumored partner, looking at an 18+ picture book about the two of them. What could he possibly say now? Liu's mind was racing. After a moment of racing, for some reason, he jumped to the dramatic conclusion that the rumor wasn't baseless. Things like Yayu making a love bento for him. He completely forgot that he had forced him to make it. And then, after the rumor started, little puppy didn't dare to face him. And then, in private, he was secretly drawing 18+ comics. From all these extremely plausible yet absurd reasons, Liu came to a conclusion that couldn't be more shockingly dumb. Could it be that Liu likes him? Dude, just go to sleep and dream on. Like? He's lucky he hasn't tried to take your head off. This sly fox is usually so smart and quick-witted, but why is he so naive and innocent in this situation? And he's even holding his head in disbelief. This fox must be secretly overjoyed. Seeing Liu's shock-to-the-core reaction, Li Yayu quickly tried to do damage control and yelled, This isn't mine. As he spoke, he frantically closed the notebook. But this action, in Liu's eyes, looked even more like he was trying to hide something. Just when the atmosphere was tense, from inside the notebook, something fell out. It had pink heart-shaped tape on it. Thump, you couldn't see the back clearly, but once the front was visible, it was another surprise. Weren't these the ID photos of Liu and Li Yeyu? That girl Emitai ships this couple so hard, she even went through the trouble of getting their ID photos and taping them together with heart-shaped tape. My god. This time, even if you flew out of the universe with a banner, you still couldn't clear your name. Li Yeyu and Liu once again silently stared at the thing on the table. Mintai, oh Mintai, you've really done your friend dirty, girl. After seeing it, Liu Yu's face turned beet red. He was both embarrassed and sweating nervously. Liu, standing to the side, was sweating just as much. The two of them looked at the two photos taped together and thought in unison, isn't this the photo I gave to Mitai earlier? Liu only knew that he had given the picture to Liu Yeyu. He heard Li Yeyu ask for it for a friend, but looking at the situation now, his suspicion that Li Yeyu liked him became even more certain. It's over. Under this kind of pressure, we can only light a candle for little puppy. There's no way to console him. The atmosphere grew increasingly stiff and awkward. In the end, it was the sly fox who spoke first. Liu, sweating, rarely hesitated, coughed a few times and said, I heard. It seems you have feelings for me. Li Yayu had just picked up the photo and put it back into Amita's notebook and was turning his head to hear what Liu had to say. Yes, then little puppy heard the sly fox in front of him say, sorry, you might have misunderstood something, but I never wanted to develop with you. Pausing for a moment, Liu pointed at the notebook in the puppy's hand and said, this kind of thing? This kind of thing? You mean like what's drawn in the notebook? Record this right now, puppy. Wait until later when he's infatuated with your body and has lustful intentions. Then play this for him to hear. Let's see then, who will be embarrassed. Payback isn't off the table, it's just a matter of time, Liu. The fox doesn't know what the future holds now, but he's also very flustered right now. Rejecting a classmate is so difficult, isn't it, Fox? But the fox thinks he's rejecting someone. Little does he know. Li Yayu's mind was reeling after hearing those words. What was that about? What is this guy talking about? Little puppy's eyes widened in disbelief as he screamed internally. What's with that expression on his face? It's as if he really thinks you like him. Li Yayu was at a complete loss. What the heck is going on? In the little boy's mind, at that moment, the voices of the students from that afternoon suddenly echoed. One said, how could Liu date him? Another said it was because he was clinging to Liu, and another looked down on him, saying he wasn't worthy. Li Yo had never had any feelings for Liu whatsoever. Why were they making up stories as if they were true? What did they know to talk like that? Little puppy was heartbroken. And now, even Liu heard those baseless rumors, and believed they were true, and even rushed to confront him to clear their relationship. The more he thought about it, the angrier Li Yeyu got. It was clearly Liu who kept clinging to him. Now, his attitude was as if he had been harassed by him, which made him lose face. Looking at the awkward notebook in his hand, Liu Yayu finally couldn't take it anymore and yelled, what did I misunderstand? Misunderstood that I was aiming too high and clinging to you? Where did I get feelings for you from? And this thing wasn't drawn by me either, Li Yayu said, slamming the notebook on the table. Then, he said with difficulty, other people spreading baseless rumors is one thing, but even you misunderstand me. Li Yeyu couldn't bring himself to say the next words, because he saw the awkward expression on Liu's face opposite him, as if he was sympathizing with him. Little puppy was so hurt by the sly fox's attitude. He clutched his chest and sadly questioned, do you feel that? Those rumors appeared because of me? I didn't mean that. Liu furrowed his brows, not knowing what to say. In his heart, he had come here to explain everything clearly to Liu Yeyu, purely because he didn't want their relationship to become awkward. But what relationship did they have anyway? Wasn't it all because Liu forced Liu himself, ever since he transferred into the class until now? So, who was most at fault in this matter? If not him? Just as the tension between the two was at its peak, the little girl, Mu Tai, boldly stepped out. She didn't come to explain that the rumor came from the three girls in the club. No, the girl just came to get her sketchbook back. After getting the sketchbook, Mitai quickly gathered her things and ran out of the room. The girl was scared to death that people were fighting because of her. She didn't dare to admit her mistake yet, so she ran first and would talk later. After Mitai left, Liu Yayu's tone softened a little. He turned his head to look at Liu with disdain and said, see, I told you it wasn't my notebook. Liu didn't dare to look at little puppy, just turned his head away without saying anything. Then, he heard L Yeyu toss a sentence as he walked past him. You narcissist. That was a good one, little puppy. But that jab was a bit painful. At least it hit the sly fox right where it hurts, didn't it? The two of them parted on bad terms. After Li Weiyu left, Liu still stood there, holding his head in frustration. This time, he had misunderstood the other person. He deserved to be yelled at. In any case, clearing things up is a good thing. That's what he thought. But Liu not only felt unhappy, but his mood was also complicated and extremely strange. Why? Even he himself couldn't understand his own feelings. That afternoon, Liu went home with that inexplicably downcast mood. As soon as he got home, the maid in the house asked, "Why is the young master home so late today?" Liu didn't want to explain, so he just vaguely said that he went for a walk outside for a bit today, so he got home late. Hearing Liu say that, Lang didn't ask any more questions and just said, "The master and madam said they won't be home tonight. Young master Liang Yin also said he has a gathering with friends, and wanted to take you with him. Then you don't need to prepare dinner for me." Liu didn't say he would go to the party with his brother. He just said, "I don't want to eat." Then he went straight upstairs, leaving Lang with a bewildered and confused look. "The young master just had a little setback today, Miss Maid. Just let him be. Why spoil him so much? Hehe." As soon as Liu went upstairs, he saw his brother sitting on the sofa, smoking. He walked over, annoyed, and reminded him immediately, "Mom and Dad have told you many times not to smoke where there's a carpet. If the ash falls, the house could catch on fire." The young man with black hair and black ears, who somewhat resembled Liu, turned to look at his younger brother. Then he sneered back, "Mom and Dad aren't even here. Stop pretending to be a good boy for me. Since when do you follow the rules, my dear little brother?" Oh my, these brothers look exactly alike. And their personalities are pretty much the same too. No wonder they were born from the same mother. Liu was sneered at by his brother, but he didn't have the energy to argue. He turned to go into his room. Before leaving, he said, "I don't want to smell cigarette smoke in the house. Didn't you say you were going out? Go smoke outside." After saying that, he turned and went into his room, slamming the door shut with a loud bang. Liang Yin, sitting outside, looked at his younger brother's attitude, and could only curse. That little brat. The relationship between these two brothers doesn't seem very harmonious, does it? Liu, who was called a little brat by his brother, is now sitting on his bed, looking at a text message on his phone that was sent half an hour ago, with no reply. The message, of course, was sent to Liu Yayu, but it seems little puppy doesn't want to pay attention to him. He didn't even reply to the message asking if he got home safely. Liu held his phone, thought for a moment, then sent another message asking, "Are you still mad?" Right after sending it, he quickly unsent it. Isn't it obvious enough? If he asks again, wouldn't he just be looking for trouble? Thinking of this, Liu annoyedly threw his phone aside and ignored it. As he took off his tie, he thought, why am I trying to coax him? It's clear that between them, they're not even considered friends. It was just a random acquaintance, and then it just got intense. Liu threw his shirt on the floor and walked into the bathroom. At first, he just thought Li Yayu was fun to play with, that he was an easy-to-control little puppy who could entertain him for a bit, so he followed his heart's desire and approached the guy, and as a result, he didn't end up playing the guy at all. He only found his own emotions being led astray. As Liu turned on the water, he felt that this was all so ridiculous. He thought, maybe he shouldn't have teased little puppy from the beginning. If he found something, he should have just thrown it in the trash and pretended he didn't know anything. If he had done that then, he wouldn't be feeling so emotionally confused and uncomfortable right now. While Liu was feeling down about his teenage emotions, at the same time, in his own home, Li Yayu was also very troubled. Little puppy wasn't heartless, ignoring Liu, as he thought. It's just that he looked at the message he sent and didn't know how to reply. Just replying to a message, but in little puppy's mind, already, an angel and a devil were fighting. Little Ellie, the extremely heartless one, cursed right in his face. Are you a masochist or something? What? Isn't today a chance to get away from that sly fox? Why do you still want to reply to his message? Just give him the cold shoulder. While little Ellie was cold and devilish, little Wayu was a kind angel. The angelic little puppy sadly explained, but it's clear that Liu wants to make up. We're friends. If there's a misunderstanding, why not talk it out? Little puppy listened, and felt more and more confused. Just shut up, it's better that way. Li Yayu wanted to shut up too, but his reason brought up a very practical issue. If he stops being friends with him now, will he reveal his secret? Oh no, his weakness is still in the other person's hands. This is so hard. After thinking back and forth, there was still no answer. Li Yao acted exactly like Liu did earlier. He threw his phone aside and ignored it. Little puppy felt like his life was about to end. He didn't want to struggle anymore and just flopped onto the bed, ignoring everything. Teenage years are filled with so many mixed emotions of joy and sadness. Now, he's stuck in a situation that's more than friends but less than lovers. It's making Li Yao so tired. Little puppy just wishes he could bury his face in his pillow and sleep it off. What is this uncomfortable feeling in his heart? It's not just little puppy who's feeling upset. In a distant place, Li Yu is also just as upset. Two teenagers stayed up all night just because of friendship problems. While some are sad and worried, others are happy and looking forward to something. While the puppy and the fox are in a complicated relationship, the puppy's best friend, Hong, is at home, packing clothes for the autumn trip. Mu Jian entered the room. Seeing her younger brother neatly packing clothes into a suitcase, she asked, confused. What are you doing? Packing for the trip tomorrow, what else? Hong replied without turning his head. Mu Jian walked straight in, crouched in front of her brother's suitcase, and asked in a loud voice, do you have to bring your uniform on an autumn trip? Why are you bringing all this stuff? Hong broke into a sweat hearing his sister's words. Those are pajamas, sis. After saying that, the little boy added, if you have something to say, just say it. Do you want me to take out the trash again? This time, Mujayan didn't look for her brother to take out the trash. The girl just wanted to confide in him about something. But did you notice that? Mujayan hugged her knees, feeling awkward, and said, all day Friday, Liu and Lu Yayu didn't talk to each other at all? Ah, so you're feeling guilty for spreading false rumors, is that it? But dating rumors like this, sooner or later, they'll come true. Hong noticed, of course. Moreover, the boy sensitively realized that the two of them might have been bothered by the rumors, which is why they didn't dare to talk to each other. After speculating, Hong whispered to his older sister, actually, Liu Yayu can't possibly like Liu. He's a wolf, you know. Besides, he often secretly badmouths Liu to me. After saying this, Hong turned to poke fun at his older sister. But if they're not dating, shouldn't you be happy? Like, you don't have a rival in love anymore. Hearing her brother call her pathetic made Mujane very angry. The girl yelled in her brother's face, is that how you think of your sister? I don't think Liu and I have a chance anyway. But seeing them like this makes me feel very uncomfortable. Yeah, uncomfortable. But who asked you to spread rumors? Next time you want to say something stupid, you should think before you speak. Got it? Hong also didn't know that the ones who spread the rumor were his older sister's group of friends. So, after hearing that, the boy broke into a sweat and replied, yeah, so, their relationship doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, does it? How could it not be related? Mujayan had no choice but to dejectedly admit her mistake. Well, the source of that rumor is probably from our art club, but I didn't expect it to turn out like this. I heard from MTai that they had a big fight in the club room earlier, too. Hong was speechless after hearing that. Who asked you gossipy girls to run your mouths? No wonder you guys are posting clarifications all over the school forum. After realizing this, Hong paused for a moment and said, actually, once a rumor starts, it can never completely disappear. Even if you walk around the school with a megaphone to debunk the rumor, it won't. He was in the middle of explaining when he looked up and saw his sister crying, her eyes out. He was so shocked. His hair stood on end. Let's talk calmly, sis. Please don't cry, you're making me feel bad. Hong was scared now. This gossipy mouth of yours, you should really learn to control it in the future, you know? There's no other way. The boy had to change the subject and said, however, if a rumor is baseless, people will eventually lose interest. But the important thing is, I can't wait. After crying, Mujane heard her brother's words and rushed to grab his head, shaking the boy like crazy. I want to help them fix their friendship. I want to make up for the mistake I made. This autumn trip is a good opportunity. Please help me. Hong was shaken so much he felt like his brain was rattling. He had no choice but to agree, to rescue his older sister. So, when you're in trouble, you come to your little brother, but normally, you treat me like thin air. This sister of mine, really. Li Yayu and Liu had a big fight. Now, Mujane wants to fix their friendship. Will she succeed? Tune into the next video to find out. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. The next day, early in the morning, the students had to gather in front of the school gate, waiting for the teacher's inspection. After the roll call and stowing their luggage, they could get on the bus to start their trip. A few of the girls saw their classmate Liu helping arrange the luggage and cheerfully skipped over to ask for help. And when Liu arrived pulling his suitcase, the sight that greeted him was Liu happily chatting and laughing with the other girls. The sly fox was loading a classmate's suitcase, and when he looked up, he saw Liu had walked up beside him at some point. Instinctively, Liu offered to take care of his luggage for him, but he was coldly rejected by the little puppy. I can do it myself. With that, Liu put his suitcase under the bus and turned to leave in one smooth motion, leaving Liu just watching his retreating figure before letting out a long sigh. Look at that fox's face. Right now, he looks like he's been hurt by an important person who's sulking at him. Once the students finished stowing their luggage, they began to line up for the bus. Mujin had slipped onto the bus at some point without anyone noticing. Right now, she was busy shooing away students who were looking for seats in the back. Go on, sit somewhere else. I'm saving these seats for someone, sorry. While holding the seats on one side, Mujin also craned her neck to look outside, trying to see where Liu and Ahong were. Her plan was very simple. She would hold 2 empty seats on the bus, while her little brother, Ahong, would be in charge of stalling for time, keeping Liu outside for as long as possible. By the time all the other students were on the bus, there would only be 2 empty seats left, forcing Liu to sit together. Sure, the plan was perfect, but the key was her brother, Ahong, and how long he could hold back the little puppy. Well, what do you know? It's only been a few minutes and Ahong is already being grilled by Liu about why they aren't getting on the bus. Even though he was tricking his best friend, Ahong wasn't flustered. The kid even acted completely naturally, putting his arm around Liu's shoulder and explaining with a chuckle, anyway, there are only so many seats. It doesn't matter if we get on early or late. Let's just stay out here and breathe in the fresh morning air. He acted confident, But, thinking about his sister Mu Jin's ridiculous plan, Ahong's heart was pounding. Last night, after a lot of effort pestering her little brother, Mu Jin came up with a plan that she considered quite clever. I'll be in charge of saving 2 empty seats in the same row for them. Every year, Liu helps organize all the luggage before getting on the bus. This year will definitely be the same. Your mission is simple. Just find a way to delay Liu, so he gets on the bus even later than Liu. That way, they'll have no choice but to sit together. We're just trying to do what's best for you. Ahong thought to himself, trying to use this reason to soothe his guilty conscience. Meanwhile, almost everyone else was on the bus, and Liu had just about finished with the luggage. The teacher then urged everyone to get on board. Thanks for your hard work, Liu. Hurry up and get on the bus. Liu, Ahong, we're just waiting on you. The best friend who had just suggested getting some fresh air, bolted faster than anyone the moment he heard the teacher's call. The little puppy standing behind him watched his friend take off like a speeding arrow, and was left completely bewildered. Hey, who was it that wanted to get fresh air? Why'd you leave me high and dry like that? Haha. Once the mission was complete, Ahong had to make a quick escape, of course. A million apologies to Liu in his heart. That's what best friends are for. Every man for himself. Being tricked by a classmate was just a small ordeal for Liu. The moment the puppy got on the bus, the real ordeal was about to begin. How was it that on the entire bus, the only empty seat left was the one next to Liu? You felt like this wasn't an ordeal anymore. It was a catastrophe. To make matters worse, his so-called best friend sitting in front was completely ignoring the little puppy, whistling, looking everywhere, anywhere but at the little puppy. Liu was furious. But what could he do? With only one seat left, he had no choice but to sit. Mu Jin's seemingly hopeless plan had turned out to be a spectacular success. The Mu Jin siblings went from anxiously avoiding eye contact to watching the little puppy awkwardly sit down next to Liu. Only then could they finally breathe a sigh of relief. Ahong felt very guilty for helping his sister deceive his best friend. He was constantly on edge. Finally, the kid tilted his head and curiously asked his older sister, "Is this really going to work? Even if they sit together, their relationship, no matter how you look at it, there's no way it can be patched up." "Don't worry." Mu Jin was full of confidence now. "After all, there's still the next step when we get to the hotel." "Oh, so there's a plan B too? How impressive. Let's see what other tricks these kids have up their sleeves at the hotel." There were no tricks, it's just that Liu and the little puppy once again coincidentally were assigned to the same hotel room, and at this point both Liu and Liu shared the same speechless and silent expression. Liu remembered that when they were assigning rooms, Ahong suddenly became very clever, saying that he and Liu had a great relationship, so they should be assigned to the same room. Then he conveniently shoved the 2 key cards for room 705 into the puppy's hand. Even now, Liu still didn't understand why he was put in the same room with this fox named Liu, of all people. But since they were already assigned the same room, there was nothing the puppy could do about it. No matter how annoyed he was, he could only start unpacking his luggage with a sullen face. The little puppy was focused on unpacking his suitcase, and he couldn't help but wonder why that rotten fox was being so quiet. His silence actually made the little puppy feel a bit uneasy. Liu was about to turn his head to see what Liu was doing, but as soon as he turned around, he saw the sly fox rolling up his sleeve and injecting something into his arm. Wait. Is he currently in his heat? Seeing the word inhibitor printed on the syringe, Liu was startled, realizing that the sly fox was approaching his sensitive period. Watching Liu inject the medicine for a moment, you noticed Liu's uncomfortable expression. A thought suddenly popped into the little puppy's head. He's uncomfortable? He can make a face like that too? Since the sly fox was feeling unwell, the little puppy, Liu, suddenly felt a pang of sympathy and began to make excuses for his behavior. During the period leading up to a heat, emotions can fluctuate wildly, and it's normal to overthink things. So, maybe the things Liu said before were because of the emotional fluctuations during his heat, and not because he meant them? Wow, the little puppy is so understanding. Even though the puppy did nothing wrong, after finding a suitable reason to explain his classmates' behavior, you couldn't help but feel terribly dejected. Both of the puppy's ears drooped completely. He thought, maybe I was a bit too harsh with Liu before. Not only did I yell at him, but after that day, even though Liu still kept my secret, I actually avoided him and stopped talking to him. The more Liu thought about it, the guiltier he felt. And the guiltier he felt, the more his puppy ears drooped pitifully. Back then, it was because my emotions had reached their limit, so I unconsciously took out all the malice I had suffered onto Liu. The little puppy felt so sad just thinking about it that he could faint. Oh my, what a sweet and gentle little boy. The good little puppy realized his mistake. So, even though there was still some awkwardness in his heart, Liu bravely spoke first to show his concern for Liu. Are you not feeling well? You can take leave from the autumn trip, you know. He meant, if you're not well, why didn't you stay home instead of going on the trip? Liu, who was bending over to throw something away, heard the little puppy's concern and glanced over. Then he calmly replied, as if it were nothing, it's almost over. If you're worried, I can ask the teacher to switch our rooms. He was just showing concern, but Liu thought the little puppy was afraid of him being in heat. He was really misunderstanding the poor puppy. Even though Liu was being unreasonable, Li, you didn't get angry. The kid even shyly explained, that's not what I meant. I mean, I feel that during this time, if your mind isn't clear, saying a few nonsensical things can be forgiven, just like you before. The sly fox looked at the little puppy's pitifully cute expression and felt his own face about to turn red. This little puppy is making such an adorable face again. Liu's mind was filled with roguish thoughts, but on the surface, he acted nonchalant and probed, so, you finally decided to pay attention to me again, huh? The little puppy was extremely embarrassed by his classmate's question. He scratched his head and looked away, avoiding Liu's gaze as he hesitantly explained, well, I was a little out of line before. Because I heard some harsh words from other students, I ended up taking my frustration out on you. In short, I was wrong. I was wrong too. I shouldn't have so easily believed rumors and overthought things myself. Since the little puppy apologized, the sly fox went along with it and admitted his own fault. It was my fault for not considering your feelings. I should be the one saying sorry. Having said that, a certain sly fox started his signature manipulative act again. Even though we've made up, what if being together again starts more rumors? And then things like, oh my, you won't get angry, will you? And so on. My goodness. The moment he's forgiven, this fox starts up again. He's definitely a schemer, no doubt about it. He's laying it on so thick. But, Liu still doesn't notice a thing. The kid even thinks Liu has a point. Even though making up is good, we're in the same room on this trip. Who knows? We might get tangled in nasty rumors again. Seeing Liu's anxious expression, Liu quickly leaned over and patted the little puppy's head. While patting him, he began to skillfully guide the conversation with his silver tongue. If you can't change how other people think, then just pretend they don't exist. If anyone says anything nasty again, just tell me. You don't have to bear it alone. It was rare for Liu to see the sly fox, being so gentle and understanding. He was so embarrassed from the head pat. In the end, the puppy could only turn his head away, blushing bright red, and say, oh, but you dare to use an injectable inhibitor? That's pretty amazing. I wouldn't dare use one. Haha. He's embarrassed, so he's changing the subject. But the fox Liu behind him even points it out, saying he's changing the subject, so awkwardly, making the puppy even more embarrassed. Seriously, that fox knows everything except how to be considerate. After teasing the little puppy to his heart's content, Liu finally smiled gently and said, hurry up and finish packing. We have to go meet up soon. On the outside, he looked calm, but only. Liu knew how complicated he felt inside right now. Once again, his emotions were stirred up by the little puppy. Although it was a bit hard to explain, at least they could go back to their previous friendly relationship. When the fox is happy, the puppy is happy too. Compared to disliking a friend, playing with a friend is much better, isn't it? And just like that, the puppy and the fox finally made up successfully. Turns out Mujin's plan wasn't entirely useless after all. After arranging their luggage, the students were led by the teacher to visit the aquarium. Before entering, the teacher gathered the whole group and reminded them of the things to pay attention to. Only when they all shouted in unison, got it, did the teacher let the teenagers go and explore freely. Now that Liu and Liu had made up, the task of looking after the little puppy fell on his shoulders. As soon as they separated from their friends, Liu wanted to run around everywhere. Liu, following behind him, couldn't even keep up with pulling the kid back, if that tells you anything. After a quick look around outside, the two of them went into the aquarium tunnel to take pictures of all the fish. Then they even took a selfie with a shark before they were satisfied. They played and played until they reached another, more empty hallway. It was then that Liu, with a grin, pointed out to Liu, up ahead is the most important part. I heard it's the crown jewel of the aquarium. The little puppy's curiosity was piqued. Upon hearing that, both his ears perked up, and he had to ask immediately, what is it? A whale? The two of them chatted as they walked curiously forward. Just then, the little puppy ran into someone he knew. Hey teacher, what are you doing here? The person they met was the teacher from the infirmary. The Black Panther man? Hearing Liu ask why he was there, could only give a wry smile. He said the school sent him on the trip. Of course, the medical staff had to come along. But shouldn't you be waiting in the main hall? Liu was also very confused. What if a student needs you? Hearing this, the Black Panther man sheepishly scratched his cheek. Well, I was trying to follow everyone, but I ended up getting separated and lost without realizing it. I was just about to head back to the main hall. After hearing the explanation, for a rare moment, Liu and the little puppy shared the exact same thought. This teacher is completely useless. Will you look at that? Is it okay for students to be thinking that about their teacher? Haha, but the teacher really is a dork. It's the first time I've ever seen a Black Panther this goofy. As the three of them were talking, Liu suddenly saw something and pointed. That. In the direction the puppy pointed, the first thing that caught the eye was a beautiful fishtail. Then came long fins, swaying freely in the water. Finally, a beautiful merman with white hair appeared. Amazing. This little merman is named Li Sha. from the fish subspecies, and he's only 19 years old. Noticing someone looking at him, Li Xia turned to look back. Then the boy opened his mouth and said something. Bubbles escaped from his mouth and scattered everywhere. Seeing this, the Black Panther man was completely stunned on the spot. In his entire life, he had never seen a fish this beautiful. Looks like it's love at first sight. Why do all the panthers fall in love with fish? Hee, it must be fate. However long the merman swam in the aquarium, that's how long the accanted of the aquarium. Black Panther teacher stood and watched him. After staring for a while, the guy even blushed and waved at him, thinking to himself how beautiful the merman was. Li Xia had no idea what the human was doing. The boy didn't react to the wave, and simply closed his eyes and ignored the strange greeting. The boy probably thought this human was crazy or something. After ignoring him, the little merman turned back into a salted fish, so lazy he couldn't even be bothered to swim. He just let himself drift, floating in the water like a doll. But because he's beautiful, even his laziness is beautiful. It's not just the Black Panther man who liked him. The little puppy Liu liked him a lot too. The kid's tail was wagging like crazy, which shows you how much he liked him. And hearing Liu praise the merman for being beautiful, Liu also chimed in with an objective assessment. But he doesn't look very lively at all. Seeing that Liu's eyes were glued to the merman in the tank, Liu, feeling a little jealous and a little amused, asked, "You like merman that much? Look at that tail. It's wagging so fast it's turned into a propeller." Liu added that last part in his head. Then he saw Liu grin, turn his head, and say to him, "Yeah, I like him a lot. Looking at him makes me want to eat tuna onigiri and seaweed soup right now. Wow, you must really like him then." Hearing that, Liu suddenly felt sorry for the merman swimming in the tank. Looking at someone and thinking about eating fish, only the little puppy Liu would do that. Although, the association is quite specific. But Liu still broke out in a cold sweat. Oh man. Having a kid obsessed with fish on his right was one thing, but when Liu turned his head to the left, he saw a teacher who was just as obsessed with fish. The kid, seeing the unusually red face of the panther teacher, broke out in a sweat, and asked, "Teacher, why haven't you gone back to the main hall yet?" What a great question. Look at the teacher's tail wagging just as much as the puppy's, and ask him if he can even take a single step. Unlike Liu, who only thinks about eating, the teacher is a grown-up. He knows how to appreciate beauty, okay? Moreover, he's been shot by Cupid's arrow. He's fallen head over heels for the guy. The Black Panther teacher, caught by his student while crushing on a guy, was very embarrassed. The man's face turned red, and he gave a strained laugh. "Ah, I'm going back right now." After saying that, he didn't dare to stay any longer, and quickly made his escape. As he was leaving, the Black Panther man noticed a young man wearing a face mask and sunglasses, furiously taking pictures of the merman with a camera. Dr. Jan saw how enthusiastically the person was taking photos, and broke out in a sweat. A hardcore fan. How is this merman so popular? The doctor thought to himself, but he didn't dwell on it for too long. Meanwhile, Liu and Liu were still watching the merman. After watching for a while, the little puppy finally pulled Liu over to the information board. He wanted to learn more about the merman in the tank. Merman Li Xia, a rescue subject of the Aquatic Animal Protection Organization, brought here for protective purposes. Having read just that far, the little puppy couldn't help but grumble unhappily. What is this? If he's a protected subject, why is he being brought to an aquarium for exhibition like this? Is that even allowed? Hearing that, Liu very much agreed with Liu. No wonder I said this merman had no vitality. If anyone were kept in captivity like this, they wouldn't be happy either. Liu looked at Li Xia's beautiful tail as it glided past in front of him. His little ears drooped thoughtfully. So, are mermen omnivores? I don't think I've ever heard anything about it. The description doesn't say either. Mermen probably don't fall into the 3 traditional classifications that have been established. Liu spoke up to explain it to Liu. After all, this type is rarely seen in beastman society. Besides, their pheromones are said to be difficult to detect. It's also hard to classify them based on the established basics. Right, they're really rare. Liu cheerfully waved his hand, pulling out a pen and his art assignment notebook. It's rare to encounter such a wonderful species. The little puppy decided to draw a portrait of Li Xia while he had the chance, and complete his art homework at the same time. Liu's act of waving his hands and arms to measure proportions successfully caught the attention of the lazy Li Xia. The boy stared at the little puppy, not understanding what the land animal, the little puppy, was trying to do. Among the 3, only Liu was happily playing along. The fox even praised Liu for looking so professional, saying he had brought all the right tools. Then, the passers-by who had come to see the merman were also drawn in by Liu's pen-wielding performance. They milled about and then stared wide-eyed at the merman portrait Liu was drawing. As for Liu, who had just praised him, the more he watched Liu draw, the more alarmed he became, breaking out in a sweat. I don't know what the final product will be like, but why does everyone have such a horrified look on their face? Done. It was a creation made with heart and soul. After a flurry of hand-waving and shaping, the picture that Liu finally produced looked like this. He drew it with heart, but Doesn't that tail in the back look a little like a crab claw? I hope the puppy wasn't suddenly craving crab while he was drawing. Wow, it's finished. Liu tried to praise him, but the words got stuck in his mouth. That just shows how much he didn't want to lie to himself or others. Of course, you didn't need Liu's praise. The main thing the puppy wanted was for the subject of his art, who he'd been watching all this time, to see the picture he drew. It's creative, but it lacks skill. Is that a nice way of putting it? Unfortunately, not only did the merman Li Xia not say anything, he looked at the picture and then pointed at himself as if to ask, "You drew me?" Even without getting an answer. However, just that was enough for the merman to pout his lips in strong disapproval. On top of that, he was also extremely annoyed and glared at Li Yu. Getting his hopes up like that, only to be drawn as some kind of monster. Li Yu was so embarrassed he couldn't even look at Li Xia anymore. The fox covered his head, silently blaming himself. Before, why did I ever think Li Yu was good at drawing comics? Haha, oh my god, I'm laughing so hard my stomach hurts. Li Yu was so confident at first. But, seeing Li Xia's expression, the kid started to get nervous. It seems like he doesn't like it very much. It's not just that he doesn't like it, puppy. He's outright rejecting it to your face. What a terrifyingly creative technique. You'd think if the fish didn't like it, the puppy would call it quits. But no. The kid flipped to a new page, fiddled around for a bit, and finally produced another heartfelt masterpiece. This time, even the external form, Li Yu was too lazy to describe. The most noticeable feature that would let you recognize the dead fish in that mess was Li Xia, was probably still the tail. Couldn't draw him well, so he decided to butcher him instead? Haha. So in the end, Li Yu was still craving tuna onigiri and miso soup, wasn't he? Li Xia thought the puppy was trying to redeem himself, that he would draw him looking better than before, but no. After waiting all that time, the fish ended up with some kind of cursed drawing. The merman was speechless. He gave up instantly, turned, and swam away, not bothering to look back. Watching the other's figure retreat in annoyance, Li Yu's ears drooped once again. He asked sadly, he didn't like this one either? Oh my god. Even the sly, manipulative fox couldn't bring himself to lie and comfort him, if that tells you anything. At times like these, Liu could only break out in a sweat and try to lure the little puppy to see something else. If the kid stayed here any longer, his creativity might just cause an accident. Who knows? Li Yu gave up. No one appreciated his art. So, the puppy had no choice but to go play somewhere else. The two of them wandered around for a bit more, finally stopping in front of an entrance with a sign that said, "Jellyfish." He didn't know what was inside, but Liu said it was the only place they hadn't visited yet. If we haven't been, then let's go. But before stepping inside, Liu spoke up with some hesitation. It's so dark. Is this place even open to visitors? It's probably for the viewing effect. There are only lights near the tanks. With that, the fox guide stepped inside, but he had only taken a few steps when his tail was grabbed tightly by two hands. The fearful voice of Li Yu rang out in the darkness at the same time. Don't walk so fast. The little puppy wasn't afraid of the dark, as Liu thought. It was just that the surroundings were unfamiliar, and his eyes hadn't adjusted yet. The little puppy couldn't see the path clearly, so he was just a little panicked. Follow me. In the darkness, Li Yu suddenly felt a warm hand take his own. Then, the little puppy was led the whole way by his sly fox classmate. It wasn't until they reached a place with some light that Li Yu shyly pulled his hand back like a girl. Seeing the obvious shy reaction on the little puppy's face, the sly fox once again started his roguish tricks. What are you shy about? We've clearly had physical contact. That was much more intimate than this. As he spoke, Li Yu's hand precisely pinched Li Yu's soft ear, making the boy blush even more with embarrassment. Hearing the fox next to him spouting nonsense that could easily be misunderstood, Li Yu started to shout back awkwardly again. Don't talk nonsense. Letting you bite me twice doesn't count as physical contact. Oh my god, I thought the puppy would say something else. Saying it like that is even more likely to be misunderstood. Luckily there's no one else here right now. Otherwise, rumors would definitely start flying again. Just as the little puppy was about to explode, all around them, beautiful clusters of purple light began to flicker. Li Yu's irritable mood was immediately diverted by the glowing jellyfish inside the tank. The boy's mouth hung open, his face full of surprise. Wow, this is so magical. Do you like jellyfish, Liu? Liu wasn't looking at the beautiful scenery. He was only looking at Li Yu. Then he saw the little puppy grin and say, yeah, jellyfish look delicious. I want to eat jellyfish salad. I give up. Once again, the romantic atmosphere and Liu's appreciation for beauty were completely crushed by the little puppy, with not a trace left. How hungry must you be to immediately order a dish upon seeing anything? Liu felt speechless. Well, after they finish here, he'll take the little puppy to get something to eat. After that, they finally finished watching the magical jellyfish display, amidst the little puppy's imagination of a pile of food. As soon as they left the exhibition area, Li Yu eagerly asked Liu, is there anything to eat here? Liu wasn't free either, but luckily he knew how to use his phone. After searching for a bit, the fox decided to take the puppy to a seafood restaurant to stop the kid from ordering food while sightseeing. The four of them found a place to eat, but before the two kids could leave the aquarium, they heard an urgent announcement from the speakers. Dear valued guests, the merman in the aquarium is currently experiencing a health issue. If there are any doctors among our guests, please come to the merman tank and contact our staff. The aquarium needs your help. Hearing this announcement, Liu spun around in shock. Huh? The merman, the one from just now, right? What happened? We can't help either. Liu gently pulled Liu's shoulder. Don't go. You'll just be in the way. Although he said that, Li, you still had some friendly feelings, having drawn a picture for the merman. Now, hearing that he was hurt, the little puppy was very worried. He was fine just a moment ago. How did this suddenly happen? Seeing that Liu was still concerned about what was happening over there, Liu quickly put his arm around his shoulder and pulled the little puppy along, comforting him as they walked. Don't worry. Luckily, our school has a doctor with us. He will definitely help. Teacher Jans, whom Liu mentioned, was currently being invited by the staff into the staff lounge. Li Sha is over here. Thank you for your trouble, sir. As soon as he stepped inside, the Black Panther doctor's eyes widened in astonishment. It wasn't because the man was surprised that the merman who was fine before was now injured. What surprised Jans was that Li Sha's beautiful fishtail was slowly turning into two legs. The merman's face was contorted in pain. Although the wound on his leg wasn't very serious, the merman seemed to have a very low pain tolerance. His whole body was drenched in sweat as if he'd just bathed. He was in too much discomfort to speak. Jans brought his medical kit over. Seeing Li Sha huddled to one side, he asked the female staff member in a low voice, "What happened to him? What happened to him? Where did the wound come from?" On the outside, he was calm, but inside, Jans was thinking, I can't believe a merman who comes ashore really has his tail turn into legs. Fairy tales really don't lie. The female staff member didn't know the thoughts in the head of the doctor in front of her. She just stated the facts. He seemed like he was about to faint earlier, but now he seems to be much better. After a pause, the woman hesitantly speculated, "We don't know if it's low blood pressure or anemia." Jans put on his stethoscope and gently pressed the metal part to Li Sha's chest. While listening to the merman's heartbeat, the man said, "His heart rate is very fast right now, and his breathing is also unstable. If we rely solely on these basic examination methods, we can't determine exactly what's wrong. It would be best to take him to the hospital for an examination." Another male staff member, upon hearing this, spoke up in a panic. "Could you draw his blood first? There's a health testing center nearby. We can contact them and send the blood over for testing." After saying that, the man even pulled out a blood drawing kit. It seemed like this wasn't the first time they had done this, but Jans was a doctor, so of course, he didn't agree with this careless solution. "Can't you call for an ambulance? Right now, going to the hospital is the best option." Hearing this, the two staff members began to hesitate and stammer. Finally, after a moment, the woman reluctantly said, "The director isn't here today. We can't just take him away as we please. It's the rule." The man immediately added, "He's always been very fragile and often has dizzy spells like this. If he doesn't faint, then a little rest should be enough for him to recover." Looking at Li Sha's face, does it look like he's going to be fine? As aquarium staff, how can they speak so irresponsibly? But the more Jans listened, the more speechless he became. The man's brow furrowed tightly. He only wished he could carry Li Sha straight to the hospital right now. That's it. Why is such a beautiful creature, protected by the nation, being treated with such indifference? In Jans's heart, for the first time, he felt an infinite sense of pity for the merman. The little puppy and Liu have made up, and the teacher has met a merman, beautiful on his trip with the group at the aquarium. Will they be able to help Li Sha? Stay tuned for the next video to find out. They invited a doctor to treat the merman, so Rans quickly put on medical gloves and prepared his tools to begin the examination. The man twisted the cap off an alcohol bottle, dipping a cotton swab inside. Then he looked at the dazed Lixia across from him and said, "Let's draw some blood first. Can you give me your arm?" Lixia heard the panther across from him speak, but didn't understand a single thing. He just sat still, not moving or cooperating at all. Faced with this situation, the staff member standing nearby couldn't help but step forward and forcefully pull Lixia's arm over. He then rolled up his sleeve and said to the Black Panther doctor, "He basically won't understand what we're saying. Just pull it out." It's true, Lixia didn't understand, but being pulled still hurt. Rand saw the boy frowning in alarm from being grabbed, and couldn't stand it. He quickly reached out to stop the other man's rough actions. "Be a little gentler, he's a patient." After speaking to the staff member, Rands turned back to Lixia and reassured him, "This will hurt a little. Try not to move, okay?" As he spoke, the doctor, the Black Panther, quickly tied a band around the merman's bicep. After inserting the needle to draw blood, the man quickly used a cotton swab to wipe the blood from Lixia's arm, both disinfecting and stopping the bleeding for the boy. Once the blood was drawn, Rands capped the vial and gave it to the female staff member to take for testing. After drawing the blood, Rands then turned his bile attention to the wound on Lixia's leg. But before cleaning and bandaging it, the Black Panther wanted to ask something. What happened to the wound on the merman's leg? He had asked them a difficult question, so the two irresponsible staff members stammered for a long moment, before forcing a smile and saying, "We're not very familiar with the equipment in our fish tank. When we pulled him out of the tank, he got cut." Just hearing the word pulled tells you how rough those two staff members were with the merman. At that time, oh my god, is this how a protected animal is treated? Knowing he'd made a mistake, the staff member, didn't even apologize once, but just laughed it off. "Let me go find something sweet for him. If his blood sugar is low, eating something sweet will help." The female staff member saw her colleague make an excuse to slip away, and her mind quickly raced. She then said, "I'll go contact the health screening center to come get the blood sample." But Ranz, seeing the two staff members shirking their responsibility like that, was very annoyed. Even after they left, his face was still grim. What's wrong with these people? They get paid to do a job, but they don't even take proper care of the merman. The more he thought about it, the more Ranz pitied the beautiful merman before him. But when he looked up, he noticed the patient's complexion had improved a lot. Hands and feet. Ranz swiftly bandaged the wound on Lixia's leg, and while disinfecting the wound, the Black Panther doctor also noted the expression on the other's face was completely unchanged. He didn't know if he was used to the pain or just good at enduring it. Just after finishing bandaging the merman's leg, Ranz was suddenly drawn by something sparkling. It caught his eye. Reaching out and picking it up from the gap between the sofa cushions, the Black Panther doctor discovered it was a scale. Looking at the color, there was no doubt this scale belonged to Lixia. Ranz was shocked. Only then did he realize that because of the large wound on his tail, Lixia's scale had been pried off. The Black Panther looked at the scale for a moment, then regretfully held it out to the merman across from him. "This is very precious, isn't it? Here, it's yours." "Oh no." Lixia saw his own scale and was thoroughly disgusted. Although he didn't speak, his pouting expression seemed to say, "Why are you giving me back my dead skin?" And it makes sense. You can't stick a scale back on after it falls off. So it's just like dead skin on a human. Giving a scale back to a fish and getting rejected is perfectly normal. Ranz was rejected but had no idea. Seeing Lixia refuse to take the scale back, he cheerfully grabbed his jacket from the side and tucked it into the pocket. Outwardly, he said he would keep it safe for Lixia, but who knows what he really planned to do with that scale. Watching him put his dead skin in his pocket, and smiling as brightly as a flower while doing it, Lixia felt both suspicious and a little creeped out. Why would someone enjoy collecting another person's dead skin? The fish was so confused. It's true, different species, different cultures. Poor doctor, his first impression was already rejected by his wife. But Ranz had no idea he'd lost points in front of the fish. After putting the scale away, he took off his gloves and caringly asked Lixia, "Are you uncomfortable anywhere else?" He asked. Of course, but the fish didn't understand such a long sentence. He could only be confused. Ranz saw the merman didn't answer him, so he called out his name, Lixia. The merman understood those two words. His two ear fins trembled as he looked up and hummed in response. The Black Panther doctor saw the boy's reaction, and suddenly felt he was incredibly cute. So he doesn't understand conversation, but he understands his name? Oh my god, this little merman is so adorable. The Black Panther swooned in his heart for a moment. Finally, he pointed his finger at the merman, then softly called out, Lixia. After saying it, he pointed to himself, and said his own name. Ranz. The action was like a self-introduction. The Black Panther's tail even gave a happy little wag. Lixia understood immediately, and because he understood, the usually stoic merman broke into a beautiful smile. Lixia also found the panther before him quite interesting, so after he smiled, he softly called out, Ranz. Hearing it made the doctor's heart pound wildly. Oh my goodness, the merman said my name. The Black Panther has fallen in love. The Black Panther had just been struck by love at first sight with the fish, and before he could even recover, the fish had moved closer, staring at him and making his face turn even redder. A flustered Ranz waved his hand, signaling for Lixia not to come any closer. But the merman not only came closer, but also took the initiative to take the other's hand. He then pressed the man's hand to his own cheek and nodded, saying softly, "Thank you." This is how a merman expresses gratitude and trust to others. It was the first time someone had been so forward with Ranz. His heart probably felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. Touching Ranz's hand, and then, Lixia noticed how high the other's body temperature was. The fish was extremely pleased and even rubbed against it a few times. In the merman's eyes at that moment, the Black Panther was a very good, warm person. As for the Black Panther, it was his first time being this close to his crush, so the young man was completely freaking out. His face was red, and his heart wouldn't stop pounding. After a moment of internal panic, Ranz then automatically translated the merman's actions into affection. He likes me. Those two words echoed in the Black Panther's mind, making his whole body tense with excitement. His heart fluttered with an emotion that he couldn't stop. He was both thrilled and flustered. Oh my, This young man is so innocent. Just after thinking that Lixia liked him, Rans once again had to endure another jolt, when the merman suddenly leaned intimately against his chest. The Black Panther's limbs froze, because of one surprising action, after another from the fish. But he didn't push him away. He just sat still and let Lixia nuzzle against his chest, closing his eyes to rest. Lixia treated the doctor like a pillow to lean on, but inside his head, Rans had already imagined countless wild scenarios. Things like sailors being seduced by mermen, and then getting devoured by the fish. Oh my, why did he find these thoughts more and more exciting? The Black Panther's face was now as red as a tomato. On top of that, Lixia had settled comfortably in his lap, making his hair stand on end even more. But it was only the panther who was excited, because the merman, Lixia, had simply found a better position to lie down in. By the time Rans's excitement died down, Lixia had already fallen fast asleep. So much for any romantic notions. The guy was just being used as a self-heating body pillow. Over here, the panther was cradling the sleeping fish. Over there, the puppy and the fox had arrived at the seafood restaurant. Go ahead and order whatever you like. It's my treat. Before opening the menu to choose, Lee Yu heard his wealthy classmate across from him say that. At first, the little puppy felt like he was being looked down on, so without even looking at the menu, he said, "Who needs your treat? Let's go Dutch." Just as he said that, the puppy saw the prices of the dishes in Concher, the menu, and quickly changed his tune. "Oh my god, can we go to a different restaurant?" Although, after hearing this, Liu smiled brightly and said he would pay. The cheapest dish was still 890, which made Liu completely terrified. Why is everything so expensive? I'll have the cheese-baked lobster, pasta with pesto sauce, pan-fried salmon with asparagus, butter curry crab, blah blah blah. While the little puppy was still complaining about the prices, Liu had already turned to the server and started ordering. The little puppy heard the dishes he ordered and had to slap the table, yelling out, "Why did you start ordering?" The puppy was about to ask his friend to change restaurants, but his friend had already ordered, making the puppy break out in a cold sweat. And to make matters worse, the waitress was smiling as brightly as a flower and turned to ask him if he needed anything else, which made the little puppy feel awkward. Under the gaze of the waitress and Liu had to reluctantly find the cheapest item on the menu and order, "I'll have the combination fried rice." The sly fox heard the puppy's order and immediately feigned shock, widening his eyes at the puppy in disbelief. "You come to a seafood restaurant and don't order seafood? Are you looking down on this place?" The waitress saw a sales opportunity and immediately smiled and recommended, "Our restaurant's seafood is very fresh." The puppy was once again backed into a corner. He could only tremble and say, "Thursday, then add a clam and vegetable salad." The boy ordered one more dish and then stubbornly refused to order more, reasoning that Liu had already ordered too much. Having successfully tricked the little guy into ordering 2 more dishes, the waitress then told them to wait a moment and took the menus and left. After she was gone, Liu finally grumbled unhappily, "Stop making me feel indebted to you. It feels like a huge burden, you know?" "Don't worry." In response to Liu's words, the sly fox smiled even more cunningly than before. His whole demeanor gave off a vibe of fluttering pink hearts, as if he had some ill intentions. And Liu really did have ill intentions. He didn't even bother to hide it and said it outright. "Just do what you did before and let me have a little taste of your meat tonight." "Damn it, there's no meat for you to taste at the hotel." He definitely wants to taste the puppy's meat. Liu was both angry and embarrassed after hearing that. He had to open his mouth and yell in Liu's face to feel satisfied. "You planned this all along, didn't you?" "Oh, puppy, it's too late to realize it now. The food has already been ordered. Where can you run now?" After returning from dinner, the little puppy and the little fox went back to the Oceanographic Institute, ready to meet up with their teachers and friends. On the way, Liu didn't forget to tease the puppy for eating so much. "One meal took you forever to eat." Being teased by his friend, Liu blushed and looked up to retort, "That's because you ordered too many dishes, and the food was so expensive. Wouldn't it be a waste not to finish it all?" He teased his friend a little, and he already got upset. Liu didn't argue with Liu about it anymore. But when they arrived at the meeting spot, the teachers were taking a head count of the students. "There are still a few students inside. What about the teachers? Have they all come out?" The teacher who was asked tilted her head and thought for a moment. Then she said, "The teachers? Where is Teacher Rans?" "Teacher Rans? Right now, how could he possibly know about assembling or taking a head count of students? Right now, he's completely mesmerized by the beautiful merman." After the doctor bandaged him up, Lixia was now obediently leaning against the other man, eating candy. As for Teacher Rans, with a beauty leaning against his chest like this, he was as happy as could be. Not only did the school have to gather to leave, but the staff at the ocean park were also about to get off work. But those two were acting as if no one else existed, sitting there, cuddling. The staff member saw this and broke out in a sweat. He hurried over to inform them they were about to close, hoping the teacher would take the hint and leave. "But, I'm sorry, The Black Panther teacher knew everything, except how to take a hint. Hearing the staff member announce closing time, he cheerfully hugged the beautiful merman in his arms, and eagerly asked the other man, "Lixia can get off work now? So, can I take him somewhere else? What do you think?" The staff member heard Ranz's blatant words and was speechless. "Dude, this fish is the park's property. How could he possibly get off work? We're about to get off work. We're about to close. So please leave." The blood test results are back. Just as his colleague was about to subtly kick the Black Panther out, the female staff member walked in holding several report sheets. She read the information on them as she walked and commented, "The test results are the same as before. Mild malnutrition, low blood potassium, suspected hypokalemia." Whether the illness was mild or severe didn't matter. What Ranz heard at that moment that made him furious were the words same as before. According to this staff member, Lixia's family had always been in this weakened state, and yet, these people treated it as if it were nothing serious. The more Ranz thought, the angrier he got. Rarely did he ever yell at someone, but he questioned them. "So, what are you planning to do with him now? He's a precious, protected species, but not only is he being captured to be gawked at by people, making a profit for the park, but even his health is not being taken care of. Weakness and everything else are being ignored." Just thinking about Lixia's situation made Ranz both angry and sad. Seeing the Black Panther doctor so furious, the two park employees felt extremely guilty. They quickly stammered and tried to cover up. To help him live better, maybe? Actually, he doesn't need to do anything else." His male colleague was already fumbling for words, and the female colleague added fuel to the fire, saying that now they could only put the merman back in the tank and let him do whatever he wanted. The irresponsible words of the two people across from him successfully shattered the Black Panther doctor's heart. He hugged the beautiful merman tighter, looking at the two people opposite him with anger and vigilance. "I'm talking about his health condition. What do you plan to do? What more do you want him to do? Do you want to make the boy turn a millstone before you're satisfied?" After those words from the Black Panther, the atmosphere fell into a strange, tense state. However, the person at the center of it all was still obliviously eating candy, not understanding what they were talking about. While they were in a standoff outside, another man with blue hair entered. From his appearance, he seemed to be the manager of this place. The man was talking on the phone as he walked in. "Yes, director. You go ahead and rest. I've arrived." "Okay." After speaking with the director on the other end of the phone, the manager turned to look at the two staff members beside him. "I'm aware of the whole situation. You two can go first." "Yes, sir." Seeing the manager had arrived, the two irresponsible staff members immediately obeyed and prepared to leave quickly. Seeing that everyone had left, the man then cheerfully smiled and greeted the Black Panther doctor. "Hello, my name is Bohi. I'm in charge of logistics here. I'm also usually the one responsible for taking care of Lixia." "Oh, so he's not the manager, but he's still someone with a say around here," acting on behalf of the director. As soon as the man, Bohi, appeared, Lixia familiarly shifted to lean against him. While the other man was saying thank you and so on, Dr. Ranz's gaze had already locked onto the hand that Bohi had placed on the beautiful merman's shoulder. Hearing that the person opposite him was responsible for Lixia's care, Ranz immediately pulled the merman towards himself, his attitude extremely hostile as he glared and asked the other man, "So, are you fully aware of his health condition? Furthermore, he currently has an open wound on his leg. If he returns to a tank with other fish species, it's very likely to get infected." No matter what anyone said, the little merman beside them just kept munching on his food. It seems this merman species is always in a state of hunger. While munching on the matcha cookie in his hand, Lixia also tried to analyze the meaning behind Rance's words. Although after a while of analyzing, he still didn't understand a thing. But looking at his expression, the fish understood that this person seemed to be very angry. Dr. Ranz was indeed very angry, but it was all for the sake of fighting for justice for the beautiful merman. Lixia didn't even know they were arguing because of him. He looked from the doctor to Bohi, eating his cookie while watching the drama unfold. The young man, Bohi, of course knew the other person was angry, out of concern for the merman's safety, but as a salaried employee, there wasn't much he could do. "Of course I know. This boy was brought ashore for rescue, because of his weak constitution. His current condition is truly unsuitable for living in the ocean anymore." Looking at Bohi's face, Lixia felt that this young man was being very serious. How can this fish watch drama while eating like that? Why is he so carefree? They're fighting over you, and you have no idea. The merman knows nothing. While the fish beside them was still clueless, Bohi once again explained his predicament. "I'm usually very busy with many other tasks. I can't take care of him meticulously. Moreover, there are many things I'm powerless to change." But according to Bohi, Lixia was placed here by the Marine Animal Protection Organization. They originally wanted the boy to recover his health in peace and gradually adapt to society on land. However, since Lixia joined, the Oceanographic Institute gradually attracted more customers, and its income increased accordingly. But the director of this place is a greedy bastard. The relief funds that the protection organization sent for Lixia were not spent on the boy at all. Sometimes, He even had to eat the same food as the seals. Damn, that sounds so tragic. Why do greedy people who do evil things always seem to live so smoothly? But if it were just simple greed, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. But Lixia's health, after much turmoil and lack of proper care, had gotten worse and worse. He could only stay in this place, becoming a cash cow, being exploited by the director until he died. The little fish had been listening all this time, but being busy eating his cookie, not a single word registered. It was only when he saw the two men's eyes fixed on him that he realized with a start, could the topic they've been discussing all this time be me? Who else could it be about? The answer to Lixia's question came very quickly. He saw that after hearing the story, Ranz suddenly turned and stroked the beautiful merman's earfin beside him. His voice was full of pity. You poor thing. The supposedly poor, weak beauty in his arms, the Black Panther, had already been slapped on the hand. The fish may not understand social etiquette, but he's not someone you can just touch whenever you want, you hear? Dr. Ranz's hand turned red from the slap. He quickly pulled his hand back and marveled at the strength. This doesn't seem weak at all, does it? Bohee, sitting on the side, saw their interaction and quickly intervened. Strength and physical constitution are probably not related. Also, a merman's ear fins are very thin and delicate. They don't like others touching them. Did you hear that, Black Panther? Doing that is basically molesting him. No wonder you got slapped. You deserved it. Afraid that Ranz didn't understand, Bohee began to educate him. Mermen living in the ocean mostly have to hunt their own prey, build nests, and avoid natural predators. Of course, they have to have the strength to protect themselves. Ranz cradled his now throbbing hand. After learning this new information, he couldn't help but sigh. Turns out living in the ocean is also very tough, huh? Well, where is life not tough? On land, it's tough in a land-based way. Under the sea, it's tough in an undersea way. It's all for the sake of survival. Seeing that the Black Panther doctor understood, Bohee then turned his head and used hand signals to communicate with Lixia, indicating that the doctor didn't mean to touch his ear. He was just concerned about him. Lixia is a good little merman, so when he knows he's wrong, he apologizes. Although he doesn't speak very fluently, just the two words "I'm sorry" were enough to make Ranz blush beet red with embarrassment. I can't believe the Black Panther is so into this guy. Seeing the handsome boy apologize makes him melt immediately. But he still had one question. To communicate with a merman, do you have to use sign language? That's right. Bohee had to step in again to provide knowledge about life underwater. Using sound to communicate is obviously not simple. Not to mention, in a liquid environment, the use of sound waves can easily attract dangerous fish. Whatever the other two were talking about at length, Lixia didn't really care. But as the fish looked at Ranz, he felt that this person seemed very concerned about his affairs. If that's the case, then he should take this opportunity to lean on him a little longer. Once he decided to lean, the boy did so without a second thought. He even happily pulled up a blanket, planning to use Ranz as a warm and soft pillow to fall asleep. Seeing Lixia's comfortable reaction, Bohee smiled and said, "It seems he really likes you." "Oh no, sir, don't say that in front of this Black Panther. He already has improper intentions towards the little fish. If you say the fish likes him, he might just take the fish home to raise, and that would be the end of it. Actually, Ranz really wants to steal him, but this fish is a protected animal. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't So, is there any way to help him?" Ranz was still deeply troubled by what happened at the Oceanographic Institute today. Actually, Bohee wanted to speak, but hesitated. But looking at Lixia sleeping peacefully next to Ranz, after a moment, he seemed to make up his mind and said, "There is one way. If someone reports this issue to the Animal Protection Organization, the sea, there might be a chance to apply to become the merman's new police guardian." Perhaps, a guardian? Ranz looked at Lixia, lying obediently in his lap, and silently assessed himself in his heart. Could I become his protector? Whether you can or not, you'll only know if you try. But for now, the teacher should go home. The sky outside quickly darkened. The round moon peeked out from behind the drifting clouds. Over at the hotel, Liu had just come out of the shower. He was still drying his hair with a towel, looking completely relaxed and comfortable. Even more comfortable than Liu was Li Yu. The little puppy was watching television and drooling with desire. That looked so delicious. The thing that made the little puppy drool was a baked cheese meat dish. You have to admit, the little puppy is a huge foodie. He was drooling just from watching food on television. The fox was amused by the puppy's reaction. He immediately turned to tease him. "Baked puppy meat also sounds delicious, you know. I thought you were my friend, but you want to eat me?" Li Yu cautiously pulled up the blanket, his eyes wary as he looked at the fox across from him, afraid that in the next second, he would pounce and eat him. He was scared, but the puppy didn't forget to retort, "Not delicious at all. Stop saying such weird things." Just after he said that, the little puppy, after his craving passed, finally reacted. Tonight, he had to sleep alone all night with a carnivorous beast man. And what's more, this sly fox was also in his heat cycle. The words sleeping with a fox in heat were like a filter, running through the little puppy's mind over and over. The thought made the boy start sweating buckets. Looking at the reaction, whatever Liu was thinking was written all over his face. Liu seized the opportunity to tease the boy. "What's wrong?" regretting not letting me switch rooms? The fox laughed like a devil. After laughing, he even put on an innocent face, as if to say he was very cute, not scary at all. Don't be nervous. The fox tribe isn't dangerous during our heat cycle. Think about it. Although beastmen are classified as carnivores, the fox tribe, in nature, are omnivores, just like puppies. The little puppy rolled his eyes at the sly fox, who was acting all innocent in front of him. He was suddenly at a loss for words. If you hadn't revealed those two sharp teeth, I might have actually believed what you said. Thanks for the explanation, that was as good as none at all. But it's really not convincing at all. Although the puppy said he was scared and all, his fear came and went quickly. He had already taken the initiative to change the television channel and started inviting Liu to watch a horror movie with him. They put on a horror movie to watch, but their faces were as cheerful as if they were watching a children's cartoon. It wasn't scary at all. Liu, not knowing what fear was, said, "Watching a horror movie about a hotel in a hotel is the most authentic experience." Hearing the little puppy say that, Liu also commented, to humor his friend, "The way the main character died is so cliché." After watching for a while, half an hour later, the fox had fallen asleep because the movie was too boring. As for the puppy, the boy was now so scared his face was pale, hugging the blanket and trembling uncontrollably. "So you wanted to watch a scary movie? Are you scared now? Knock knock." Just as the boy was watching the scary movie, scared out of his wits, a knocking sound came from the window, making both boys jump. Liu nervously turned his head to look towards where the sound came from. His soft voice carried a hint of trembling. "Did I hear that wrong? I think I heard, knock knock knock." Before the boy could finish his sentence, the sound of knocking on glass rang out again. This time, he didn't mishear. The puppy was sweating bullets. Oh my god, ghosts are so scary. Could it be that after watching a scary movie, a ghost has come to find them? Liu was scared, but there was still a sly fox in the room, who didn't believe in ghosts. So Liu took the initiative to get out of bed, wanting to go to the door, to see what was making the noise outside. Liu was also shocked by his roommates. Brave actions. How can something be knocking on the window? This is the 7th floor. Seeing that even after he said that, Liu was still determined to pull back the curtain and look. Liu panicked and quickly dove under the covers, his whole body trembling. Whoa, wait a minute. If you really see something, what will we do? What else is there to do? Liu decisively grabbed the curtain, and as he was about to pull it, he replied, "If it's a thief, we call the police, of course." Swoosh. The fox grabbed the curtain and pulled it open. But, surprise, there was nothing outside at all. Liu stood there and looked around for a bit longer. Only then did he turn back and say to Liu behind him, "Don't be scared, there's nothing there." The little puppy was completely buried under the blanket, still trembling. But when he heard his friend's reassurance, he still stubbornly said, I'm not scared. I'm super brave." His words were slurring together, and he still claimed not to be scared. How could the fox believe him? Looking at the way Liu was wrapped in the blanket on the bed, the fox could only picture a hot dog. Seeing the little puppy's confidence that he wasn't scared, Liu didn't expose him right away. He just calmly sat down on the edge of his bed. Then he mysteriously whispered to Liu, "Don't worry, no one can stand on the balcony outside. It's just a regular ghost making trouble." "Puppy, damn you. Will you die if you don't scare people?" The little puppy, who was no longer scared, now turned pale after hearing what Liu said. His tail first stood on end. "Shut up. That's the last thing I want to hear." The puppy screamed, then quickly turned over and wrapped the blanket tightly around himself, trembling as he said he was going to sleep. Liu had teased him so much, and now seeing the boy trembling, he felt a little guilty. It seems, this classmate of his is very afraid of supernatural things. Seeing his friend so scared, the fox, the sly one, immediately took pity on him and leaned down to coax him. "How about we sleep together tonight?" In the room, Liu was coaxing the little puppy to sleep in the same bed. Outside the window, unbeknownst to Liu, the strange sounds he heard were just from a nest of swallows pecking with their beaks at the moths that flew into the light. Unfortunately, the little puppy didn't know this, which is why he was now being coaxed by the sly fox. Liu's suggestion seemed reasonable, but, for the sake of his last bit of pride, Liu still stubbornly pretended and said, If you're scared, you can sleep with me." "Well, that's thoughtful of you," the sly fox said outwardly, but inside, he was secretly laughing at the little puppy. The puppy is scared out of his mind but is still being stubborn. Although they've only known each other for a few months, Liu understood the little puppy's personality very well. That's why he just had to tease the other boy until he got flustered. Just as Liu was terrified of ghosts and demons, Liu suddenly leaned into his ear and whispered, "Let's sleep together. Aren't you afraid you'll dream of a fox biting your butt again tonight?" "Stay away from my butt." Bringing up the past made Liu's expression change instantly. He glared fiercely at Liu, pointing right at his face as if to tell him not to even dream about his butt. Teasing your partner a little is fun. Teasing your partner a lot is fun many times over. After being told off, Liu immediately started messing around and turned away, as if to say he was going back to his own bed to sleep. Liu was angry, but he was also scared. Seeing that this fox was really leaving, he hurriedly grabbed his pants. panicking, and pleading. Wait, hey you. Liu's elastic waistband pants were pulled by the puppy until they were almost about to rip, nearly exposing his butt. But the little one held on tightly and wouldn't let go, leaving Liu feeling completely helpless. If you keep pulling, this scene won't pass censorship. Let go. Quickly. After teasing his partner and achieving his goal, Liu grinned like a blooming spring flower and said, "See? You're the one who's holding me back. Scoot over a little." Liu, being from the dog clan, had never seen such a shameless situation before, and even though he knew he was being tricked, the puppy could only purse his lips and reluctantly move to the side. Between anger and fear, the puppy would rather choose anger. Liu had teased him enough. This time, he just quietly got into bed and reached out to turn off the nightlight. But as his hand reached out, he paused for a moment. If I leave the light on, maybe Liu will be less scared? Thinking that, Liu decided to leave the light on. Outside the window came a series of tapping sounds. Some swallows were actively catching insects for a midnight snack, but the foraging of the little birds made the little puppy shiver with cold. Liu looked at the other boy wrapped in a blanket, trembling, and could only chuckle. He was in his heat cycle, but he had already taken suppressants. So, sleeping together for one night should be fine. That's what he thought. But as soon as he lay down, the sly fox immediately turned over and hugged the little puppy. He even whispered teasingly, "I'm not your big brother, so you don't need to act tough in front of me." The little puppy was already very scared, but being hugged by him, he peeked an eye open to look at him, wanting to hear what kind of nonsense this fox would spew next. But after listening for a moment, the puppy suddenly heard him say, "It's okay to rely on me a little." These words were both indulgent and caring. It made the little puppy's eyes widen in surprise. His face also turned bright red. After being moved by Liu's comforting words, Liu blushed and thought to himself, if Big Brother knew about this, he would definitely scold me to death. And yet, I dared to sleep with this sly fox. Of all people, Liu didn't know how he became so bold. Liu wasn't just sly. He was also a dangerous carnivorous beastman who could easily lose control during his heat cycle. And yet, not only was he sleeping in the same bed with him, but he even felt a sense of security sharing a blanket and pillow. This is just too surreal. The little puppy couldn't help but sigh at the thought. He had just thought something nice about the bad guy, when the little puppy was once again provoked by the incorrigibly bad habits of the fox named Liu, making him furious. This guy wasn't sleeping in the middle of the night. Instead, he was rubbing and sniffing. What the heck? Will you just let me sleep? The puppy could try to sleep, but Liu was still going to get his fix. At this moment, the fox was smelling the scent of apple pie on the nape of his little puppy classmate's neck to fuel his mischievous nature. Liu's sniffing gave Liu goosebumps all over. He shot up angrily and pushed his head away. Be good. You couldn't even behave for 3 seconds before starting trouble. Lie still and go to sleep. I don't want to. Liu, the flirtatious fox, whined after being told off, but he still pounced, hugging and rubbing against him. How could he tell someone to just focus on sleeping like this? I don't know how anyone could sleep. Liu also felt he couldn't possibly sleep in this situation, but before he could kick the fox off the bed, his arms were already pinned in place by him. Not only did Liu refuse to settle down and sleep, but he also pulled Liu to face him and held him tight. 2 adolescents, lying in one bed, facing each other. Both of them were blushing profusely. The atmosphere around them gradually became subtle and ambiguous. Liu didn't understand why he was feeling cold just a moment ago, but now he felt incredibly hot. Feeling the other guy's hand on his waist, the little puppy immediately yelled out, "It's so hot. Don't get so close to me. You think just because you say, 'Don't get close,' I won't? It's not that easy." Without another word, Liu ran his finger down the little puppy's spine. Just one stroke, and he made the puppy get goosebumps all over. He shuddered, trembled, and blushed, letting out a soft moan. His whole body went completely soft, letting the fox do whatever he wanted. Just one touch from Liu, and the little puppy reacted like this. The more he watched his reaction, the more interesting he found it. It seems the area near the base of the little puppy's tail is really sensitive. He molested someone's sensitive spot like a pervert, and yet he was grinning from ear to ear. What kind of high school student is this lecherous? Classmate Liu wasn't just lecherous. He was lecherous with a justification. Seeing the little puppy nestled in his arms, Liu leaned into his ear and whispered, "Didn't you say you wanted to pay for the meal with your body? When did I ever say that?" Liu was furious hearing the fox named Liu spouting such lies. Although he was at a disadvantage, he still tried to turn his head and resist, refusing to give in. But resistance was futile. Liu wasn't normally weak, but in the fox's hands, the little puppy was completely overpowered. Liu was seen turning Liu around again, one arm wrapped around his waist to hold the little one still. His other hand rested on the puppy's chest. He even caressed it and complimented. "So full. Very nice." The sensitive little puppy had his little peaches hardening under his shirt from the caress. When the fox squeezed that spot a few times, he panicked and quickly yelled, "These are pecs, pectoral muscles." whatever you say. Liu didn't care if they were pecs or boobs. Right now, he just buried his head in the little puppy's neck and sniffed. He didn't know if it was because today, you didn't use suppressants, or if it was because he was in heat and more sensitive, but he felt the little puppy smelled incredibly fragrant today. This feeling of, delicious, come and eat me, would be a waste not to take a bite. Liu was so seduced by the little puppy's apple pie scent that he lost his way. His mouth moved faster than his brain. After sniffing, he stuck out his tongue and licked the boy's neck. His fangs were about to sink in too. With just one lick, the fox was already drooling. But before he could lick again, the sensitive little puppy turned his head and questioned him. Did you just lick me? Liu's face and nose were red, his mind reeling from the tingling sensation just now. So he didn't notice the suspicious trail of saliva on the corner of the fox's lips. The sly boy heard Liu deny licking him, and the puppy actually believed it. Oh puppy, just look at his craving face. There's no way he didn't lick you. Don't listen to his nonsense. The little puppy also didn't know whether to believe Liu's explanation or not. Or maybe he didn't believe it, but was too embarrassed to question it further. He only knew that his heart was beating very fast right now. Liu listened to the heartbeat of the person next to him. He didn't know if he was flustered or anxious for his heart to be beating this fast. Sensing the little puppy was tense, the fox named Liu finally decided to let him go. He let Liu off the hook, and at the same time, let himself calm down a bit. To avoid doing too much while he was in heat, it would be bad if he lost control. Even though he intended to back off, he had to get one last jab in. The sly fox was seen leaning close to Liu's ear, and whispering in a low voice, "That's enough for today. Good night, you. Damn it, if you're going to say good night, just say good night. Why did you have to call me you? The moment the two words, you came out, in the puppy's mind, images immediately appeared, from the rated scenes in Mitai's BL comic collection. Oh my god, what a late-night nightmare. Liu was sweating bullets, going crazy. He turned around and immediately started hitting the guy next to him. While being violent, the little one was also blushing and screaming. Ah, why? Why did you have to make me remember that? The little puppy wished he could punch Liu into amnesia so he would stop bringing up that embarrassing incident. But Liu was a thick-skinned fox. A few punches meant nothing to him at all. So he was still grinning from ear to ear, saying, "Isn't that nickname really cute?" The little puppy didn't know what was cute about it. He only found it mortifyingly embarrassing. You didn't want to face that incident in the first place. But on second thought, the fact that people saw them as having a secret affair, and even started rumors, must be because his and Liu's relationship seemed too ambiguous. The little puppy started to blush and self-reflect. Fundamentally, he also felt they were quite ambiguous, especially this kind of casual physical contact. Although the puppy clan loves to be petted, this was just too weird. Thinking of this, the little puppy couldn't help but glare angrily at Liu. He stared so hard that the fox, who was about to sleep, became very suspicious. "What's wrong?" he asked. You hesitated for a moment, but finally, with drooping ears, he sadly hugged his pillow and asked, "Why are you always so clingy with me? This isn't how normal friends interact, isn't it? Why?" Liu had thought the little puppy was going to scold him or something, but he didn't expect him to say such complex and thoughtful words. This left him temporarily speechless, unable to answer. Come to think of it, maybe Liu himself didn't even know the reason why he acted this way with the little puppy. After a long pause to process, the fox finally smiled with narrowed eyes and said, "Well, during their youth, boys are all like this, aren't they? Everyone has no sense of boundaries." The no sense of boundaries that Liu mentioned was the type to sling arms around shoulders, pat classmates' butts, and even sit on their laps and whatnot. The puppy heard him and thought it made some sense, but it still felt wrong somehow. Normal boys do sometimes roughhouse and go too far, but is there anyone who is so obsessed with their friend's scent that they want to sniff and lick them, want to bite them and squeeze their pecs? It's obvious that this fox has ulterior motives. Oh, little puppy, don't believe him. Well, it's easy to say don't believe him, but there's so much evidence out there. So, you didn't know if it was because he was just being too sensitive. Maybe those things are actually very normal, and it's because he didn't have any close friends before, that he just didn't know about these things. Oh dear, the little puppy is truly so naive. Even Liu was speechless looking at him, let alone anyone else. Seeing the puppy being lulled by his nonsense, and falling into a deep sleep, in the heart of the sly fox, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty. My god, this puppy is such a rare and hard-to-find idiot. After lamenting his friend's simple mind, the fox finally lay down. He put his hands behind his head, and started to think carefully about the issue the little puppy had asked earlier. In truth, Liu himself didn't know why his emotions were so affected by the little puppy. He could never resist the urge to do this and that to the little puppy. But that's what people call desire. Having desire means having feelings. But Liu was still too young and naive, so it was normal that he hadn't realized it yet. Every time he was with Liu, he would always act on instinct. Whenever a thought flashed through his mind, he would immediately act on it. This made their relationship increasingly ambiguous. Liu knew this very well, but he couldn't control himself. Seeing the little puppy's fluffy hair, he wanted to ruffle it. Seeing a cute reaction, he wanted to tease him. It seemed all of those actions happened very naturally. Oh my, the love of adolescence. Why is it so intense? After pondering for a long time, Liu could only conclude, perhaps this is the magic of pheromones? But whatever. No point in overthinking it. He'd just take it as it comes. The fox decided that for tonight, since the puppy was here, he'd just hug him and sleep. He'd worry about other things tomorrow. After a good night, the room fell silent. The steady breathing of the two youngsters blended together, creating a peaceful and harmonious atmosphere. Time passed, second by second, minute by minute. As the wind blew through the window, lifting the corner of the curtain, the Black Panther doctor was still sighing wearily. Night fell, and while others slept, the Black Panther was still, racking his brain over many things. To say many things wasn't entirely accurate. It was just that the procedure to register as a guardian for the merman was more complicated than Rans had thought, so the young man had a bit of a headache. He had only met him for a day, but captivated by the merman's beauty, Rans finally decided to apply for guardianship. But the paperwork was incredibly tedious and time-consuming, from report documents to the guardianship application, and then various proofs and so on. In short, there were countless things. Reading documents all night, researching all sorts of information, the more Rans looked, the more difficult it seemed. Rans tiredly stopped looking at the documents, and turned to pick up the fish scale that was placed to the side. The Black Panther doctor leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on the small scale in his hand. Through the light reflecting from the laptop, he could easily see the pearlescent specks, shimmering on the small scale. Li Sha, Rand silently called the name of the scale's owner in his mind. Then, as if possessed, he placed it on his lips and gave it a light kiss. After kissing the fish scale, the Black Panther suddenly froze, embarrassed, his face flushed red, and he mentally facepalmed. What am I doing? Outwardly, he berated himself for being a pervert, but inwardly, Rands was enjoying it immensely. The Black Panther was truly a man who said one thing and felt another. After composing himself and suppressing his feelings of affection, Rands once again seriously browsed the computer, searching for information to prepare his guardianship application. If everything went smoothly, it wouldn't be long before he could live with the beautiful little merman, Li Sha. Alright, for the goal of raising my wife from a young age, let's do this. Rands clenched his fist, silently encouraging himself. Liu, Liu, Liu. While the sly fox was half asleep, he suddenly heard a suspicious sound from beside him, making him open his eyes to take a look. Next to him, Li Yu was hugging a blanket, his eyebrows still tightly furrowed in his sleep. He was mumbling some strange sounds from his mouth. Li Yu, get your dirty hand off me. Li Yu immediately understood that the little puppy was sleep-talking. At first, Li Yu just lay there, listening to the kid grumble and frown, until he heard Li Yu say, "You dare stick your tongue in and try it." These fragmented, unclear words successfully made the sly fox, who already had a guilty conscience, gradually blush. He must have thought the little puppy was dreaming of something rated, or what could it be? Liu's imagination was running wild, but the little puppy's next words shattered his fantasy. "Don't eat it, that's my pudding." He was speechless after hearing that. That emotional roller coaster completely vanished, with the puppy's indignant muttering, "Damn it, so he was just afraid the fox would steal his food?" As expected of the little puppy, fiercely protecting his food even in his dreams. After that emotional roller coaster, Liu was now wide awake. He sat up and carefully tucked the little puppy in. Then, he stretched his muscles. Since he was already up, he might as well go buy breakfast. And so, while the little puppy was still warm in bed dreaming of pudding, the fox named Liu had already taken a stroll outside, and successfully bought a bag of food. On his way back to the hotel, Liu happened to run into the Black Panther doctor, so he quickly greeted his teacher. "You're up early too, teacher." Well, he was about to ask if the teacher was also up early, but looking at the doctor's face, Rands didn't look like he just woke up early. It looked like he hadn't slept at all. That's it. Liu broke into a cold sweat just looking at him. "Did the teacher pull an all-nighter?" "I didn't pull an all-nighter. I just kept my eyes open until morning." Rand saw his student's concern but didn't say much, just smiled and waved his hand, implying that he had some documents to write last night, and that it was no big deal. The sly fox was just being polite. Seeing that his teacher said so, he quickly said his goodbyes. As Liu opened the door, he thought to himself, "I never thought being a school doctor would be such a busy job." Yeah, busy for sure. Busy being obsessed with a fish. Of course, Liu didn't know any of this. At this moment, as he entered the room, he discovered that Li Yu was also awake. "Oh, you're awake?" Hearing Liu's voice, the little puppy sat on the bed and sleepily rubbed his eyes. His voice was still groggy as he asked, "Why did you go out?" "To buy food for a certain puppy, of course." Liu smiled and held the bag in front of the little puppy. "Hurry up and wash your face. I bought you a sandwich and pudding for breakfast." "Whoa, what?" The mention of pudding instantly woke Li Yu up. He hugged the giant cup of pudding and asked cheerfully, "How did you know I wanted to eat pudding?" The fox could only sigh at the question. Someone was just crying like a pig because they were craving pudding. The little puppy heard it, but he was too drowsy to understand anything. Anyway, Thank you. Although he didn't understand the hidden meaning in Liu's words, the little puppy still smiled sweetly and thanked him. As he said thank you, his tail wagged furiously. You could tell just how excited he was. Looking at Liu's obedient expression, Liu couldn't help but blush. Then he suddenly pounced onto the bed and pinned the little puppy down, ready to make his move. Don't expect me to be polite, rogue. Look how easy to bully you are. Just for saying thank you once, he ended up being pinned to the bed and getting sniffed all over by the sly fox, which made Liu furious. Smack. Asterisk. The little puppy's fist quickly had a very friendly greeting with the fox, along with a scolding, calm down when you're in heat, from Liu. The fox Liu obediently turned his head away with a huge lump on his head. That's what you get for messing with me. You think I'm just a little pup because I don't growl? Well, actually Liu really is a little puppy. Anyway, when words don't work, violence must take over. After getting hit, the fox became much more obedient. While the puppy was getting dressed, he even went to pull open the window curtains, and conveniently bad-mouthed the little puppy a bit. Not cute at all. Hurry up and pack your things. We have to gather later. We still have a half-day itinerary today. As soon as Liu finished his nagging like a mother hen, a familiar tapping sound came from outside the window again. Tap. Tap. Asterisk. Liu, standing inside, broke into a cold sweat when he heard the sound. Are there ghosts even during the day? This hotel is really dangerous. The puppy is the type to say whatever is on his mind. After he said that, the sharp-eyed Liu pointed for him to look. It's a swallow. They hadn't noticed it last night because it was dark. This time, as soon as Liu pulled the curtains open, he saw a swallow's nest in the corner of the window. Only now did the two kids realize who the culprit knocking on their door all night was. But now that they knew, so what? The puppy was no longer scared, and the fox had another chance to tease someone. Last night, a little puppy was so scared by a swallow that he burrowed into my arms. Man, this fox is really asking for a beating. He just got hit, and now he's fearlessly teasing his friend again. The little puppy was teased until he was speechless. His face turned bright red. At this point, all he could do was shout, "I did not. Don't spread false rumors." The little puppy was so embarrassed he wanted to dig a hole and hide. After letting out a guilty shout, he quickly turned to leave. His face flushed. He warned Liu not to tell anyone that they slept together. That would be extremely embarrassing. Alright. The fox knew he'd hit a sore spot and stopped. He suddenly became a friendly companion again, raising his hand to swear he'd keep his mouth shut. But as for this fox's words, it was hard to say whether they should be believed or not. That afternoon, the students were taken by their teacher to visit a park. But unlike the novel and exciting aquarium from yesterday, everyone felt a little bored today. Even an easily pleased puppy like Liu had to complain. This is so boring. Isn't this just a normal park? Liu stood aside and heard the little puppy's comment and couldn't help but smile and tease him. Where did you think the school would take you to play? The admission fee here isn't cheap, you know. There you guys are. I've been looking everywhere for you. As the two kids were talking, they heard Hong's voice from a distance. They turned to look, only to see their friend panting heavily, exhausted from running a long way to get here. The kid was even carrying a bag in his hand. Hong gasped for breath a few times, and then, before Liu and Li, you could say anything, he held out the bag, indicating it was a gift for them. Seeing his friend offer something, the little puppy instinctively reached out to take it, even though he didn't know what was inside. When Liu asked what it was, Hong, without hesitation, pointed behind him to a tree, not far away. 3 little cheetah girls were peeking out from behind it, looking in their direction. It's my sister's group. They want to apologize for spreading bad rumors about you two before, so they bought something to make amends. The girls, Mujin's group, were too shy, so they asked Hong to deliver the gift. Who knew this kid would turn around and sell out his sister immediately? It made his sister so mad she wanted to smack him right then and there. Who told you to just say it out loud like that? Don't we need to save face? If you do something wrong, you apologize. It's normal. What's face got to do with it? Since they'd been found out anyway, Mujin's group quickly ran over to Liu and Liu. The apology they'd been too shy to say finally came out. Seeing the girls' awkwardness, Liu took the initiative to smile and say it was okay, telling them not to worry about it. Liu was also blushing shyly at this point. The fight he and Liu had before, after all, wasn't entirely the 3 girls' fault, so the little puppy didn't blame them either. It's okay. It's all in the past. Hearing Liu say that, Mujin finally smiled and assured them, from now on, if anyone spreads rumors about you, I'll definitely chew them out for you. As long as you fangirls don't spread the rumors, no one else will. Just ship them quietly, okay? As long as you don't say it out loud, everything's fine. Just as the 2 girls finished their apologies, Tai, standing in the middle, suddenly blushed and shouted, I'm sorry for letting you see that. That kind of drawing I drew. Every time Tai mentioned her R18 collection, she would blush and even start to stutter, but no one even knew about this. Now that she shouted it, the whole group heard it loud and clear. Even the usually thick-skinned sly fox broke into a cold sweat when he heard this. He quickly waved his hands, gesturing, friend, lower your voice. Do you want the whole world to know about this? It's not exactly something to be proud of, so why are you yelling it for everyone to hear? Let's just forget this ever happened, shall we? Meanwhile, Li Yu, hearing Mi Tai's apology, felt like he was even more at fault. I'm the one who shouldn't have opened your notebook without permission. All in all, everyone was a little at fault, but it didn't cause any major consequences, so after apologizing, they all made up. Afterward, Mitai's group tactfully took their leave, leaving Liu and Li Yu to have their own space. It wasn't until the girls were far away that the sly fox let out a sigh of relief. My god, that scene just now was even more embarrassing than not apologizing. If even a thick-skinned guy like him felt awkward, imagine anyone else. Li Yu, however, wasn't conflicted as the fox next to him. Right now, his sensitive nose was catching a whiff of something. It smelled delicious, so he had to open the bag right away to see what was inside. It's food, just as the puppy smelled. The box of food that Mu Jin's group gave them smelled amazing. Li Yu's face lit up the moment he opened it. He looked like he was about to start drooling. You're really easy to appease, huh? Liu looked at the puppy's blossoming face, and couldn't help but marvel at how easily pleased this puppy was. Just give him some food, and he'll forgive anything. Actually, it's not that Li Yu is easygoing, but in his view, they'll all be studying at the same school, so they're bound to see each other. Getting everything out in the open makes it easier to get along, so it's normal for him to be a little easygoing, the little puppy explained, while quickly skewering a piece of food and putting it in his mouth, chewing happily. After tasting it, he didn't forget to offer some to Liu to eat with him. This autumn trip was really perfect. In the afternoon sun and the strong breeze, Li Yu's hair was blown about. He turned to look at Liu and said these words softly. The feeling of youth overflowed from Li Yu's every smile and glance, making Liu, at his side, also forget his troubles. He smiled and hummed in agreement. Late that afternoon, the school shuttle bus quickly headed back to school. Liu and Li Yu were exhausted, leaning against each other, asleep. Seeing this scene, the two sisters of the Mu Jin family couldn't help but joyfully high-five each other, signaling that their plan to reconcile, their friendship had been a complete success. Meanwhile, over at the aquarium, Dr. Ranz arrived just as the Peppermint young man was getting off work. Having to deal with the troublemaking doctor every day, Peppermint felt tired just seeing Ranz. You came right at closing time again today. Hearing the others nagging, the Black Panther doctor could only apologize sheepishly. Sorry, I had to make sure the students got on the bus safely, before I could come over. Hearing that, Peppermint had to let it go. Finally, he pointed to a small corner in the large tank, and started instructing Ranz. Alright, first, take a picture of the tank. If you want to file a report, it's best to provide evidence of his current living environment. As proof. Dr. Ranz listened to Peppermint's instructions, and suddenly broke into a bit of a cold sweat. But I already filed a report online last night. What? Peppermint heard that and got angry. Why were you in such a hurry without discussing it carefully first? You have to be fully prepared before taking the next step. I'm sorry. The Black Panther doctor only now realized he had messed things up for the other guy again, but it was too late to cry with regret. But he was just too eager to bring the fish home, so the man had already jumped the gun and gotten way ahead of himself. Now all he could do was poke his fingers together and look pitiful to get some sympathy. What else could he do? Looking at the man in front of him, whose head was full of nothing but fish, Peppermint, at this point, could only be speechless. What more could he say? When Ranz asked where Li Xia was, before Peppermint could answer, an argument nearby caught their attention. The two of them turned their heads in surprise, and saw a customer, in a hoodie, arguing with two security guards. Where have you taken my Li Xia? What's wrong with him? Where is he now? The customer's attitude was very aggressive, and he was clearly agitated, like an obsessed fan who couldn't meet their idol. The two security guards were trying to calm him down, but it didn't look like the situation was going well. After a while of arguing, the masked customer even tried to rush inside to find the merman. The guards quickly grabbed him, and he screamed, "Let go!" as if he were being assaulted. Peppermint and Ranz witnessed the entire process of the man causing trouble. They saw everything. At this point, the Black Panther doctor also broke into a cold sweat. Because of this person's obsession with the merman, it seemed like his passion was even greater than Ranz's. I think I saw this person yesterday too. He was constantly taking pictures of Li Xia. Ranz looked at the man, feeling a sense of familiarity. It's fine. Peppermint was probably used to seeing customers cause trouble like this, so he calmly waved his hand, saying to let the security handle it. It's not the first time. This person has acted crazy like this. After dealing with the troublemaker, Peppermint then said, Li Xia is still in my office. Come on, I'll take you there. Ranz was led by Peppermint all the way to the office. As soon as they opened the door, the two of them were bewildered by the sight of a certain fish steaming of himself in a blanket with dozens of heat packs. Looking at Li Xia's small rosy face, Ranz exclaimed with great concern, how did he suddenly get so sick? Is it serious? Peppermint, standing aside, broke into a cold sweat and couldn't bear to look directly. Did you use up a whole bag of heat patches? Are you trying to turn yourself into a steamed fish or something? The person was just sleeping. but Dr. Rands thought the kid had fainted. He even rushed over to ask if Li Xia was okay and all that. The fish, being asked these questions, opened his eyes, completely clueless. If the fish isn't okay, then who is? Seeing the Black Panther doctor's over-the-top concern, Peppermint quickly explained to him, he's fine. He just likes things that radiate heat. Besides, this fish is curious about everything. I heard that when he was brought ashore, he was very surprised by his own 2 legs. Hey, what kind of creature is this? It's not a fish. What fish likes things that radiate heat? Does he want to steam himself to see what his meat tastes like? Hey Rands, Li Xia, who was nestled in the blanket, sat up when he saw the Black Panther man. He even called his name, which made the doctor extremely happy. He remembers my name! Peppermint stood aside, looking at the 2 clueless individuals, and was at a loss for words. Of course, he just lacks common sense. He's not mentally disabled, my goodness. Rands wasn't listening to Peppermint's explanation at this point. All he could see was the fish. Seeing that Li Xia was no longer asleep, and that his body was fine, Rands pulled out a bag, handed it to the kid, and said, I was in a hurry on my way here, so I just randomly bought some snacks from the convenience store for you. Li Xia probably didn't understand that long sentence, but the fish was still curious, and opened the bag, to see what was inside. Wow. If he hadn't looked, it would have been fine, but one look, and his soul almost left his body. Appearing before Li Xia's eyes at this moment, was a shark with an extremely sinister grin. Upon meeting his natural enemy, the merman quickly scrambled 10 meters away, his eyes filled with both disgust and hatred, staring at the creature printed on the snack box. He was probably afraid it would jump out and bite him. Seeing his intense reaction, Rands, sitting beside him, had no idea what was going on. He even made a confident guess. You hate taro? If you're low on potassium, eating a little is good for you. The problem is, does he really hate taro? Peppermint once again had to educate the clueless doctor about fish species. It's the shark. He hates sharks the most. Then drink this. Hearing the explanation, Rands immediately stuck a straw in the banana drink and handed it to Li Xia. Bananas can also supplement potassium. You have to admit, the Black Panther was well prepared, but Peppermint was starting to feel a bit tired. Are you here to feed a wild animal or something? That question must have come from the bottom of his heart, but he could say what he wanted. The Black Panther only had eyes for the fish now. He wasn't paying attention to anything else. Rands, after this incident, felt he didn't understand Li Xia well enough, so he decided he needed to learn more about the fish's preferences. Peppermint saw that the other man wasn't paying attention to him and could only helplessly change the subject. Do you have any plans for the guardianship application? When it came to official business, Rands pulled his attention away from the fish, opened his phone, and said, I finished writing several parts of the application documents last night. The next part needs to show an environment that can help him live well. Peppermint nodded in agreement. This is an important part to increase the probability of approval. The young man, Peppermint, after speaking, couldn't help but sigh inwardly. It seems the Black Panther doctor is very well prepared. He must really want to bring the fish home. He had just praised him in his mind, but Peppermint was immediately faced with a harsh reality. Rands tapped his phone for a moment, then, very enthusiastically, showed the screen to Li Xia and Peppermint, giving a short and concise introduction. In my garden, there's a 1 meter, long goldfish pond. But, while Li Xia didn't understand anything, and could only clap along, Peppermint already wanted to take back his earlier compliment. The depth of this pond isn't even enough for the fish's legs. The Black Panther doctor looked like he was about to cry. He sadly said he would have someone come and fix it. Then, he pulled a black VIP card out of his pocket, and carefully asked Peppermint, I also have a membership card for a swimming pool. Would that work? As for Peppermint, he could only sigh in helplessness at this point. These guys, do they think adopting a merman is like going to the market to pick out vegetables or something? Why is one cheering so enthusiastically, while the other is being so ridiculous? Papa Peppermint is so tired. Someone, please come and save this child. He rubbed his face to get rid of the feeling of helplessness. Peppermint then wearily opened his mouth. I suggest you'd be better off just showing your home environment. After all, he needs to adapt to life on land more. As Peppermint said this, he looked up and saw Li Xia happily leaning on Rands' shoulder. Having another warm pillow to lean on made the kid look very happy. Peppermint, like a helpless old father, could only conclude with one sentence. And most importantly, it really has to be according to Li Xia's personal wishes. Bam! Asterisk. As soon as Peppermint finished his sentence, the door was forcefully pushed open from the outside. The person who entered the room was the fat old director of the aquarium, followed by 2 irresponsible employees who were whispering and tattling. Who knows what nonsense the old director heard from those 2, what lies they told, but as soon as he entered, he shouted in a loud voice, Do you think it was the visitor from yesterday who reported this to the higher-ups? Who told him things related to the merman? The 2 troublemakers, seeing Rands also in the room, broke out in a cold sweat. At this point, they could only make excuses, saying it was just their own speculation. Then, they used the excuse of going to work to slip away. Li Sha and Peppermint were startled when they saw the old director, but Ranz was actually still very calm, sitting aside and watching their little show. Seeing the two irresponsible employees slip away, Peppermint couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. So, this is the legendary tattling, huh? Although he was worried about what the two had said to the director, Peppermint still reacted very quickly. He immediately stood up and quickly pulled the old director aside. "Let me introduce you. This is our director." This fat old director, upon seeing a stranger, also put on an air and asked a question. Then he heard the young man Peppermint say, "This is, a kind doctor I invited over. He's just helping Li Sha with a medical checkup." Hearing Peppermint's introduction of him, Ranz had wanted to exchange a few pleasantries as a courtesy. But just then, Li Sha, next to him, gave an extremely annoyed look, staring at the fat man over there. His whole body radiated a very clear aura of hatred. Although Ranz didn't know the little fish was cursing the disgusting old man in his head, seeing him hide behind him seeking protection, the Black Panther could somewhat guess that the kid didn't like the director, or rather, he absolutely hated him. And there's a good reason why this old director is hated. After hearing Peppermint's introduction of Ranz, the old man didn't even bother with a greeting and just crossed his arms, saying, "A free checkup? Well, thanks for the trouble. Even if you offered to pay, he probably wouldn't take it. So why talk like that, you old geezer?" This old man, even an easygoing person like Peppermint, had to curse him under his breath. After hearing such a stingy way of speaking, that tells you everything you need to know about the director's character. But he could curse all he wanted. On the surface, Peppermint just smiled and said, is there something urgent that brought you here at this time, sir?" If anyone says Peppermint is pragmatic, well, so be it. It's all for the sake of his livelihood. But Ranz probably knew this well. So when he heard Peppermint being diplomatic with the old director, he wasn't angry either. However, not being angry is one thing, but his attitude towards the old director was not friendly at all. The moment he looked at the old man's face, Ranz's expression turned serious, and he said, "I'm the one who reported your actions. What kind of life Li Sha has had to live in this place? You probably know better than anyone, right? Who asked you to confess?" Peppermint's soul almost flew out of his body when he heard that. "Oh my god, my livelihood still depends on this job." Peppermint frantically waved his hands from behind, but it was too late. The old director had heard clearly every single word from Ranz, and now he's very angry. "Peppermint, what on earth is going on here?" Hearing the old fat man's questioning, Ranz realized he had caused trouble for the other guy. So the young man quickly waved his hands to cover it up. This is all my personal initiative. Just a concerned citizen of the city like me. Whatever you want, you can talk to me. Don't make things difficult for someone who doesn't know anything." The old director, it's unclear if he believed Ranz's words or not, but his attitude was still to look down his nose at them. His words were rude. "There are no reporters here, and no cameras. Just say it straight. How much will it take for you to drop this?" The Black Panther doctor, seeing that the old man was still unrepentant even at this point, became even more furious. He pulled Li Sha behind him to protect him, and glared at the old man. He said frankly, "I didn't come here to negotiate a price with you. I will apply to be Li Sha's new guardian. I want to take him away." Oh my god. Why is this Black Panther man so honest? He just says whatever is on his mind like that. Isn't he afraid of being silenced for what he knows? But being straightforward has its advantages. At least, seeing Ranz's stance, Li Sha also knew that the man was trying to protect him. So the fish was a little touched. The director, Dr. Ranz, was determined to expose him. Finally, Peppermint had to try to help however he could. He called out, "Director," then leaned in and whispered loudly into the fat man's ear. Now that it's come to this, saying anything else is useless. Whether Li Sha stays or goes still depends on his own opinion. The old director was furious, of course, but it was true that there was nothing else he could do at this point, so he could only click his tongue and then say annoyedly, "Then you go and translate for him. Try to persuade him." "Okay, whatever the director says, he'll do it." The super sly errand boy, Peppermint, obediently went over to Li Sha, then looked at the kid with a serious expression. "Li Sha, right now there's a very important matter that you need to decide for yourself. It concerns where you will live in the future. First, director, sir hopes that you can stay here forever, and he will provide you with better living conditions." Peppermint's mouth was saying nice things for the aquarium, but his hand signs were a different story. "If you stay here, this fat old man will cut your food supply in half, and lower the temperature of your tank. Mr. Peppermint, can we please not be so blatant about it?" Li Sha is looking at you with a head full of question marks. Don't take advantage of the fact that the fish and the old director don't understand to say such things so openly. It's true. Peppermint really dared to do it, because the old man, next to him, really didn't understand what his hand signs meant. So he was still acting very arrogant at this point, holding his head high to show his attitude. "Really, are the conditions we're offering you not good enough?" Hearing that, Peppermint quickly replied, "Our director sir is very good, and he cares a lot about you." He said that, but if he hadn't held up his two middle fingers in front of Li Sha, everyone would have probably believed him. The little fish, Even though he couldn't understand, he still disapproved. He stuck out his tongue and blew a raspberry at the old man's face, showing that he didn't care at all. After giving a deceitful translation for the director, Peppermint then honestly turned to interpret Ranz's meaning for Li Sha. There's another option, which is this Mr. Ranz here. He hopes you will move into his house and live with him. At this point, Ranz didn't need Peppermint to translate anymore. He quickly took the merman's hand, his face full of affection, and assured him, Li Sha, I will definitely take good care of you. Well, even though the Black Panther was so affectionate, what's the point of being well taken care of? Li Sha, after Peppermint translated for him, still had a cold expression, as if asking if he had anything else to say. Seeing the kid's expression, Peppermint couldn't help but quietly remind Dr. Ranz what he cares about is the living environment. The living environment, you see. Ranz understood, but this was a bit difficult. He stammered for a while before finding an advantage. To the little fish living with him, I'll prepare a swimming pool for you, a warm bed, and 3 meals a day. Plus, there are no sharks in the house. Ahem. Well said, Dr. Black Panther. Hold on. Let the fish hear the translation. Li Xia turned his head to look at Peppermint. The young man, very truthfully, used sign language to convey Ranz's meaning to the kid. He'll also give you these things. Seeing Li Xia's bright, expectant face, Peppermint finally asked the crucial question. So, do you want to live here, or go live with Ranz? Do you even have to ask? Of course, live with Ranz. Li Xia's answer was to immediately and happily throw himself into his arms. The Black Panther rarely opened his mouth to say, Ranz, together, which made the doctor blush. The little merman's thinking was very simple. Wherever there's good food and a comfortable place to live, that's where the fish will go. And he had suffered enough at the old director's place. So choosing to go with Ranz was a very wise decision. Well, Li Xia thought it was wise, but the old director didn't think so. As soon as he heard Li Xia wanted to leave, he blew his top. He really wants to leave? You. Continue to persuade him. Ask him what his demands are. This fish has no gratitude at all. The old director was furious, but at this point, all Peppermint could do was push him out, leaving the romantic space for the fish and the panther. Getting angry is bad for your health, director. Let's calm down first. If you meet his demands, you'll have to spend money. Either way, it's a loss. So, wouldn't it be better to just think more openly? Li Xia didn't care about what was happening with those two. Actually, this fish didn't care about anything else, besides food and a warm nest. At this point, he was leaning against the Black Panther, wondering in his heart when they could go home. Man, this fish is frighteningly carefree, but who told the Black Panther to like fish? Just being leaned on a little, and getting a smile, was enough to make the man blush, and completely forget what day it was. The panther even thought, the fish's smile is really cute. He must really like me. What a disastrous misunderstanding between two different species. It's a bit stuffy in here, isn't it? How about I take you for a walk outside? Ranz, seeing that it was just the two of them left in the room, and if they stayed here any longer, otherwise, he might get more wild ideas. So, in the end, Dr. Ranz reluctantly pushed the little fish in his arms away, and even coaxed him to go for a walk outside. Hearing they could go out and play, the merman, Lixia, was overjoyed. Are we going right now? Well, this fish is ready. Although on the outside, our little fish remained cool. His face was now glowing with delight. You didn't need to look twice to know how thrilled he was. But, little fish, oh, little fish, you are a fish. Can't you be a little more modest? Just look at you, wearing an outfit like that and standing with your legs spread apart. The panther saw this and was about to get a nosebleed. Wait, you can't go outside wearing that. Ranz was both embarrassed and helpless with the merman's lack of modesty. Luckily, the thoughtful doctor had brought a spare change of clothes, so he just pulled them out for Lixia to wear, and everything was okay. They said it was a walk, but in reality, the two of them were just strolling around the oceanarium. That was all. But Lixia hadn't been officially adopted by Ranz yet, so he couldn't leave the premises. After closing, the oceanarium was very quiet. The atmosphere, with just the two of them, made Ranz blush even more. He couldn't stop more improper thoughts from popping into his head. Ranz's mind was racing, and he reached out a mischievous hand to test the waters, lightly touching Lixia's hand. Seeing the boy didn't pull away, he got bolder, and happily clasped his hand. When Lixia gave him a puzzled look, Ranz took it as a sign that he wasn't disliked. Oh my heavens. This guy's positive thinking is off the charts. I've been looking for you two. Don't just lead Lixia around wherever you please. The atmosphere that Ranz had deemed romantic was quickly shattered by Bohi. As soon as he arrived, he began to nag about the doctor's impulsive nature, and was immediately scolded. Dr. Ranz immediately and obediently admitted he was wrong. Sorry, I was just looking for you to thank you. I couldn't have done it without you today. After being thanked, Bohi stopped his nagging. Instead, he let out a sigh and chuckled. Actually, I had my own reasons for taking him away. It means my workload can be lightened. At this point, Bohi couldn't help but give Ranz some heartfelt advice. But don't get too relaxed just yet. Applying to be his guardian will still take some effort. After giving his advice, Bohi didn't say much more, but handed a sign language book to Ranz. Here, I won't be needing this anymore. Oh, thank you. I'll get the registration done soon. He was being so kind, so in the end, Dr. Rands could only thank him and accept it. Well, you have the book now, and it's getting late. Finally, although Rands was reluctant, he still had to wave goodbye to the little one. And leave. I'm heading off now. Wait for me, Lixia. Huh? The little merman thought that this time he would get to go home to a warm bed. Who knew a man's promise was just empty words? Before he knew it, the man was gone. Lixia reached out a desperate hand, and though he said nothing, the little one's whole face screamed, "Why are you leaving alone without me? Don't leave me behind. Poor little fish. But don't worry, you'll be picked up in a few days. The seasons change in the blink of an eye." Before you know it, the weather has already turned to autumn. The rows of green trees outside the school have gradually turned yellow, and the ground beneath them is covered in fallen leaves. After the trip, the students' lives have returned to their normal routine. Arriving at school today, while walking down the hallway, Liu saw the trembling figure of the little pup, standing outside the window. Seeing the kid's summer uniform on his body, the fox broke out in a sweat himself. "You're not sunbathing, are you? Aren't you cold?" What a dumb question. It'd be strange if he wasn't cold. Don't be fooled by the little pup over there toughing it out, claiming he isn't cold. Look at the snot running down the pup's face. He's so cold his nose is running, and yet he still refuses to admit it. Liu looked on, at a loss for words. My friend is so stubborn. What am I supposed to do? He could only pull out a handkerchief and hand it to the pup, to blow his nose. Are you an idiot? They already announced the switch to the autumn uniform yesterday. You're the only one in the entire school still wearing shorts. The cunning fox sounded more and more helpless. He had no choice but to take off his own jacket, planning to give it to the little pup. Li Yu was still busy blowing his nose, but when he heard his friend call him an idiot, the pup just had to argue back. Who would have thought the temperature would drop so fast today? My long pants don't fit. I have to get them altered before I can wear them. While the little one was talking, Liu had already bent over and was tying his jacket around his waist to warm up those legs that were shivering from the cold. Li. You looked down at what Liu was doing and asked him softly, "If you give me your jacket, won't you be cold?" "It's fine," Liu replied, still focused on what he was doing, answering casually, "I have another one in my locker." As the two of them were talking over here, a noise nearby suddenly caught their attention. "What class are you in? Where's your tie? And you, what class? Why is your hair permed?" The person speaking was a girl, wearing a red student council armband on her left arm. Following behind her was a four-eyed boy, jotting things down. Clearly this was the student patrol team, out to catch students, violating school rules. Wherever this girl went, the surrounding students looked at her with annoyance. In one's school days, people usually hate deans and student monitors the most, so the reaction of those around them was not surprising at all. Oh boy. While still dealing with other students, the pink-haired girl turned her head this way, and immediately put on an exaggeratedly horrified expression. "Student, what kind of outfit is that? Besides, the season has already changed, and you still haven't switched to your autumn uniform?" The person the girl targeted was none other than our little pup. Right now, Li Yu was surrounded by the student monitor, being scrutinized like a sale item, at the market, with her nagging voice ringing in his ear. "This afternoon, a famous teacher is coming to give a lecture. The school leadership will be there too. Aren't you embarrassing everyone by dressing like this? And what's more, your hairstyle is long in the back and short in the front, and it's so messy. Your sweater is so baggy too. You look so sloppy, blah blah blah." Li Yu was criticized by the girl from head to toe. Even the shoes on his feet were inspected, if that tells you anything. After a round of evaluation, the girl judged student Li Yu as substandard. Now, all that was left was to give her his name and class, so she could write it in her book and deduct points. Throughout the entire process, the pup didn't dare to utter a word. He could only break out in a sweat, standing frozen on the spot, letting the girl carry out her duties. It wasn't until she asked for his name and class that the little pup sent a silent plea for help to the person beside him. The cunning fox, who had been enjoying the show, when his best friend needed help, had to brazenly step up and smooth things over a bit. "Student council president, he and I are in the same class." Before Liu could finish, the student council president ran over to him, her eyes sparkling as she looked at the fox like he was her idol. "So it turns out she's just another girl who's crazy about handsome boys." Come to think of it, Liu had been standing next to Liu this whole time, but it was like he was invisible. The moment he opened his mouth, all of the president's attention shifted entirely to him. "Student Liu, I'm sure you were just disciplining him, right? It must be so tough being in the same class as a delinquent student." The innocent little pup was branded a delinquent student. He looked at the president fawning over the fox, and was utterly speechless. "What the heck? Weren't you just chewing me out a second ago?" Li Yu was bewildered by the president's 180-degree attitude shift, acting as if nothing had happened. Come to think of it, Liu was also wearing non-regulation shoes, and besides, he's a boy with such long hair. Why didn't she bust him? The pup watched and got mad. "Since you asked," the boy-crazy president would like to answer. Hearing the pup's question, the girl immediately turned to defend her handsome crush. "Student Liu surely has his reasons. Last year, he was nominated for student council president, you know." "Huh? How are those two things even related? This world really is all about looks. If you're good looking, you can do wrong and no one will say a thing. It's not just that no one says anything. What happened next was enough to completely shatter the little pup's worldview. Not only did she not reprimand Liu for breaking the rules, the president even stood with her hands on her hips and declared, "It's because student Liu is too humble. He voluntarily gave up the position to someone more capable. That's why I'm in this position now. Look, student Liu's shoes match his hair color perfectly. Doesn't that make him look even more coordinated? As for the hairstyle, long hair. Well, you have no proof that he's a male student. If he's a female student, then having long hair is perfectly normal. Holy cow. Is this what they call twisting the truth? A fangirl's fighting power is truly something else. She could probably convince you a pig is a dog or a cat. Okay, one ridiculous president is bad enough, but the four-eyed kid next to her was even, nodding in agreement. What's going on? This student council really needs to reevaluate its staff. Li Yu watched the president's endless bootlicking session, and he was completely speechless. His face was now emotionless, as if to say, "You're in charge, so you must be right." Oh, so he's actually a girl who's over 180 centimeter tall? And I never knew all this time. Being praised by others, and now being sarcastically teased by his classmate. No matter how thick-skinned Liu was, he couldn't take it. So, the cunning fox had to quickly push away the president, who was dazed by his good looks. "Hurry along, you must be busy, right? Go check on the other students. This delinquent student over here, I'll help him correct his mistakes." Sure enough, the boy-crazy girl was easily persuaded. Right before leaving, she even clasped her hands with a look of determination. "I'll leave it to you, student Liu. The doors of the student council will always be open for you, if you ever want to come back." Yeah, okay. In response to her invitation, the cunning fox could only agree to everything just to get it over with. After sending the 2 pains in the neck away, Li Yu finally shot a disgruntled look at the fox beside him. The student council is really overstepping, huh? Though the words were aimed at someone else, Liu felt a twinge of guilt. In the end, he could only say, "That's why I quit. Managing a bunch of trivial matters all day is exhausting." Liu said that, but the little pup came up with a brilliant idea. "If you were the student council president, wouldn't you have the final say in these matters? Then I could wear whatever I want to school." The pup's dream was so beautiful, it left the fox speechless. As if the student council has that much power. And if he really had that kind of power, the first thing Li would do would surely be to require Li Yu to wear a skirt to school. Just imagining that scene, the cunning fox couldn't help but let out a wicked smile. As for the little pup, his face was bright red, and the hair on his body stood on end. He immediately opened his mouth and called the fox next to him a pervert. He was just short of lunging forward and punching him in the head. Liu wasn't angry about being called a pervert. As the class bell rang, he grabbed the little pup by the collar, as if to say, "Stop daydreaming. The student council just does the teacher's busy work. When you come to school tomorrow, you'd better be on your best behavior, change your shoes and your uniform." Although Li Yu was still unconvinced, he just huffed and didn't argue back. Time flew by, and soon it was afternoon. The students were now in the auditorium for a lecture on student attitude and conduct. The teacher on the stage was lecturing passionately, while the students below, every last one of them, were drowsy to the point of exhaustion. After finishing the lecture on student conduct, the teacher used a remote to turn off the stage lights, preparing to turn on the projector, to show interviews with outstanding students, who had graduated from the school. The moment the lights went out, the little pup below pulled Liu's jacket up higher, adopting the perfect posture for a nap. The ideal is beautiful, but reality is harsh. The pup had only closed his eyes for about 5 seconds, when he suddenly shot his eyes wide open. You'd think he'd been caught sleeping by a teacher or something, but as soon as he opened his mouth, Li Yu had to reprimand the fox next to him. "Where do you think you're putting your hand?" So while the little pup was dozing off, the perverted fox named Liu took the opportunity to slip his hand inside and grope the little pup's leg. His actions were so perverted, but when Li Yu confronted him, the cunning fox still acted completely innocent and justified. "Aren't you cold? I'm helping you warm up." "Right. What kind of warming up involves groping your way up someone's inner thigh and pinching them? No one wants to be warmed up like that, dude." The little pup's face turned beet red from the cunning fox's bold actions next to him, and to top it off, he heard him turn his head and cheekily say, "Actually, you're quite warm. It's nice to have some meat on your bones." Oh my god. What kind of student talks so shamelessly and teases his classmate like this? This fox is just asking for a beating. Li Yu wanted to hit him too, but right now, he was worried that their friend, A Hong, sitting next to them, would see, so he could only curse him as a hooligan under his breath. But he was worried about his friend seeing for nothing. Looks like his friend was already seeing things in his dreams. He turned to look, and saw A Hong drooling in his sleep next to him, who knows for how long. "Some friend you are. Why didn't you invite me to your nap party? Now you're sleeping all by yourself while your friend's in danger." Li Yu looked at the little wolf next to him in stunned silence. "A Hong, are you planning to write the 500-word reflection paper after watching this tonight? Huh? We have to write a reflection after watching the recording? Just a moment ago, the little pup was planning to sleep through it too. Makes sense. I suspect this pup is just jealous of his classmate A Hong. But that jealousy didn't last long. Lee. You quickly felt Liu's hand causing trouble. On his leg again. When no one was looking, this guy really had no restraint at all. The cunning fox's naughty hand fumbled around for a bit, and somehow it kept sliding higher and higher, making Li Yu extremely embarrassed. After being messed with by the rogue fox next to him multiple times, Li Yu finally learned a lesson. When dealing with this fox, just talking won't get through to him. So when words fail, violence takes over. Li Yu angrily grabbed Liu's hand, and, with a bit of force, bent his finger backward, making the fox next to him cry out in pain. That'll teach you for being a pervert. Liu is the classic example of someone who plays the victim after starting trouble. He gropes someone relentlessly, and when his hand gets bent, he turns around and whines, playing the victim role with absolute mastery. Why are you so rough? You don't know your own strength, sniffle sniffle. Lee, you heard this and got furious. Wasn't it you who had wandering hands in the first place? Who's to blame now? Only yourself. The two kids in front were bickering about something. What was it? It caught the attention of their homeroom teacher sitting behind them. She leaned forward slightly and reprimanded them in a low voice. What's wrong with you two? Be quiet and watch the screen. Caught red-handed by the teacher while messing around, Liu and Li, you both broke out in a sweat, not knowing what to say. But very quickly after that, the little pup witnessed a masterful performance of playing the victim, an incredibly smooth act from the cunning fox. Liu put on a pitiful and miserable expression, turned his head, drooped his ears, and said sadly to the teacher, "Teacher, my finger got caught in the chair. It hurts so much, it's even bruised. If I don't go to the nurse's office to check it, it might fall off. Oh, and student Lee, you wants to come with me too." One person crying, two people nervous. The teacher was probably thinking the same thing as Li Yu right now. What does this kid eat that makes him such a good liar? Because it was quite dark, the teacher couldn't see Liu's condition clearly. Hearing him describe his injury, she became worried, and even offered to call his parents to pick him up. No need, teacher. The cunning fox would of course not let the teacher contact his parents. He just pulled Li Yu up and calmly said he would go to the nurse's office for a checkup, and then go home. From beginning to end, Li Yu watched Liu deceive the teacher, without saying a word. It wasn't until they left the auditorium that the little pup disdainfully said, "Why did we have to run out here? I didn't bend it that hard." Of course the pup didn't bend it that hard, and Liu wasn't in as much pain as he pretended. But if he didn't act like that, how would they get to go home early? They still had to go to the tailor shop to get Li Yu's pants fixed. Gotta avoid the pup turning into an ice pop from the cold tomorrow. Li, you hadn't thought that far ahead like Liu. Hearing about getting his clothes altered now, the little guy even said he had to go home to get them first. Who brings a pair of pants with them to school? Liu had originally wanted to hang out with the little pup for fun, but before he knew it, he heard the other boy say he could go by himself, not letting him come along, which made the fox feel incredibly wronged. I went through all that trouble to get out of there with you, and you're this ungrateful? Yeah, that ungrateful. Li Yu shot Liu a glare that could burn a hole through him, and immediately exposed the little scoundrel. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. I want to go to a tailor I know, and I'm paying for it myself. His intentions were exposed by the little pup pointing a finger right at his face. Liu felt a bit guilty and averted his gaze. You're overthinking it. I was just being nice and wanted to go with you. Haha, you have that much free time? Liu felt a sense of satisfaction hearing Liu's words. Finally, a day where he saw this fox take a loss. The little pup was so happy, he even smugly lifted his head and allowed him to tag along. Oh pup, you're too easy to fool. And just like that, the haughty little pup walked in front, with Liu following behind, as they headed to Li Yu's house together. Li Yu typed in the passcode and opened the door, then turned around to instruct Liu, "I'm going to get my long pants first. You don't have to come in. Just wait for me out here for a bit." The guy was just talking normally, but Liu had to overdo everything to feel satisfied. The fox placed a hand on the door, preventing Liu from closing it, and said with an annoying smile, "What are you embarrassed about? It's just changing pants. I've already seen you with nothing on, haven't I?" Liu's words were referring to Liu's appearance in his animal form, but in the heat of the moment, the little guy didn't realize. He just turned back in confusion and said, "Huh? When did you see that?" Before the pup could finish his question, a deep, questioning voice boomed from behind him. "What did you say? You've seen what?" The little guy turned around to look behind him and immediately saw the fierce, purple face of his own big brother, looking like he was about to bite someone's head off. Oh boy. Now it wasn't just the fox who was scared. Even a good kid like Li Yu was scared out of his wits. Oh my god, the scene was like being caught cheating. The two kids were sweating like it was raining, but as Li Yu called out to his brother, Liu next to him raised his hand, gesturing that he could explain. It was all just a misunderstanding, blah blah blah. But what answered him was a kick from the big brother, sending the hooligan flying out of the house. Serves him right. What a troublemaking fox. The troublemaking fox was kicked straight out the door, but he still wouldn't leave. He sat on the steps, holding his butt and rubbing it. He couldn't understand the brother's attitude. Hearing the noisy sounds from behind the closed door, the fox suddenly felt a bit guilty. Are they fighting? Could it be because of what? He said earlier that the little pup was being dealt with by his brother, the Liu being dealt with by his brother. In the fox's imagination was actually completely fine. He went into his room to get his pants as usual, while Li Hui stood blocking the door outside, intending to get to the bottom of what Liu said earlier. Liu felt his brother was overreacting. He had already said it was a joke, but his brother still didn't believe him and kept questioning him. Finally, the pup had to hesitantly explain. It was when we fact of you, we're playing a game. It's unknown if the gaming story was true, but the little pup told it very convincingly. It was during a game when he had just entered level 1, and carelessly dropped all his equipment. So the fox, the level 99 cunning fox with the username Teapot, made fun of him for a long time. That's what Liu said, but his brother still wasn't convinced and asked again. Really? Is what you're saying true? Of course. The little pup slipped under his brother's arm and calmly walked out. Why would I actually get completely naked for him to see? He had a point, but Li Hui still wasn't reassured. He grabbed Liu by the collar, pointed to his own room, and said, "Wait a minute. I'll change and go with you." Hearing this, Liu started to sweat. The tailor shop isn't that far. I can go by myself. He said he'd go alone, but mainly, the pup was afraid the fox was still waiting outside. If his brother went out there and ran into him again, it would be worse. But Li Hui wouldn't listen to Liu, so the young man just threw out a "wait for me," and quickly ran back to his room to change. Liu sneaked a peek at his brother, and finally took the opportunity to run to the door. Before leaving, he peeked his head back in and said, Bro, don't worry about it. I'll go by myself and be right back, okay? I'm waiting." Li Hui, holding a half-worn shirt, ran out to the entryway. The door slammed shut with his voice, as if it were Liu's answer to him. Li Hui stood frozen on the spot, unable to either put on or take off his shirt. The big brother, Pup, was feeling incredibly frustrated right now. He had a feeling that ever since his good little brother met that fox, he had started to learn bad habits, and was listening to him less and less. The little pup is growing up. He has his own thoughts now. If it's not the fox leading him astray, someone else will. "Big bro, don't be so overbearing." The little pup had no idea what his big brother was thinking. As soon as he closed the door, he saw the tall figure of the fox, sitting right on the stairs. As expected, he still hadn't left. Liu felt that his guess was right, but the pup still politely asked, "You're still here?" "Of course I'm still here." Liu turned his head and gave Liu a dissatisfied look. "If I just went home like that, my butt would feel very wronged." "Yeah, right. Who told you to run your mouth? Don't you know that trouble comes from the mouth?" "Sorry." Hearing Liu complain, the little pup first apologized to his friend. Then, whether it was out of guilt or something else, he actually offered to rub Liu's butt for him, which made the fox jump in surprise. It was rare for the pup to be so proactive, but his hand kept reaching out and then hesitating, making both Liu and himself break out in a sweat. "Never mind. If it's too difficult, let's just skip it. It's too embarrassing." Man, the little pup was the one who suggested it, and he was also the one to back out. Liu watched, completely helpless. You really shouldn't expect anything from this pup. The little pup talked the talk but couldn't walk the walk. He was afraid the fox next to him would misunderstand, so he finally had to explain, "I'm not like you. I don't have a hobby of touching other people." Liu felt like he'd been pricked by a needle. He felt a sharp sting, so he retorted casually, "You just like being touched by others?" "I don't." "Li," you stated firmly, immediately denying it. The two kids chatted back and forth like that, and soon they arrived at the tailor shop. Liu sat on a bench outside the shop to wait, while Liu went inside, to explain to the owner how he wanted them altered. After handing the pants over to the owner, the pup went outside too. Before that, he didn't forget to ask the owner to hurry up, saying he would wait outside and pick them up. After arranging everything, when the little pup sat down next to Liu, his expression was much brighter. Whew. Another troublesome thing taken care of. Liu saw Liu's happy expression, and couldn't be bothered to play on his phone anymore. He just turned his head and asked, "Couldn't you have just ordered the right size uniform in the first place? Don't you know your own size?" When asked this, the little pup explained the whole story to the little fox beside him. "My brother ordered them for me before school started. If you hadn't mentioned it, it would have been fine." But the moment he mentioned his big brother, the fox got angry all over again. "You can't be serious. Your brother is so weird." Bad-mouthing someone's brother to their face, but the fox was still very confident, his reasoning sharp, like a fishwife at the market about to start a fight. Not only is he violent, but his desire to control is also very strong. Liu was usually gentle, but hearing Liu's assessment of his brother, he couldn't stand for it. "You're just venting your anger, aren't you? My brother means well." The little pup glanced at Liu and looked down at the ground. He then explained softly, "Because when we were little, our family was very poor, so we always bought clothes in bigger sizes. That way, even if we grew taller later, we could still wear them for a long time." Speaking of his childhood, Liu also mentioned, although it was so long ago he didn't remember it clearly, that there was a time when he and his brother had no clothes to wear, and they even picked up the old clothes of the neighbor's daughter. They even wore girls' clothes for a long time. Aw, the two pup brothers were so cute back then. If Liu had seen them, he would have been head over heels. So that's how it is. Hearing the little pup's story, Liu finally understood why the big brother pup had that attitude and treated his younger brother that way. He knew he had misunderstood him, so he patted the little pup's head and sincerely apologized to his brother. This was probably the first time Liu had seen Liu with such a serious, non-joking expression, so he blushed a little and looked at him for a long time. Then he heard him say, "But maybe your brother doesn't realize it, but you're not a kid anymore." The cunning fox rarely sighed over someone else's problems. He looked at Liu seriously and spoke so the little pup would understand. If all this care from him is becoming a burden and a problem for you, then you should probably talk to him about it. Just like what happened today, what if you caught a cold because of your uniform? Wouldn't that be more trouble than it's worth? Hearing these words, the little pup let out a dejected sigh. That's right, he wasn't a kid anymore. Oh, the poor little pup wearing a dress. If only I could have seen it too. He was in such deep thought, but suddenly the fox next to him started acting goofy again, which made the pup furious. Can't go one day without asking for a beating? Can this rogue fox ever be at peace? Liu was both angry and embarrassed, and he didn't know how to deal with Liu. This guy really knows how to care for others, but he also really knows how to get on people's nerves. While Liu and Liu were waiting for the pants to be altered, at the same time, at the doctor's house, the Black Panther was taking a deep breath, preparing himself for the final step in the application, to foster a merman, an online interview with the association. As long as he passed this interview, he could become Lixia's guardian, Rand's thought as he reassured himself. Finally, he took a deep breath, grabbed the mouse, and accepted the video call from the association. As soon as the video connected, the person on the other end greeted him enthusiastically. "Hello, Mr. Rands. We are the qualification review specialists for guardians from the Marine Animal Protection Association. We would now like to proceed with verifying the personal background information you submitted to the association." "Yes," the Black Panther doctor replied, seriously, but seeing the employee on the other end with his face pressed against the screen, he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. What kind of interview is this? Why is his face so close to the camera? It's blocking the whole screen. The specialist from the association didn't seem to notice this detail. Right now, he was focused on the documents Rands had provided. As he reviewed them, he commented, "Your personal background and living conditions all meet our requirements. Additionally, we need to confirm one thing. Have you ever studied judo or apprehension techniques? Do you have security personnel in your home?" Rands was so shocked he couldn't speak. "You're just raising a fish, but the security requirements are this high?" The Black Panther doctor was already feeling like this was going to be difficult, but as an honest person, the doctor finally replied, "But I am working out. Meaning, I can't protect him now, but I'll try in the future." It's unclear if the employee, on the other end, understood the meaning behind Rands' words. He just calmly said, "That's all right. We will prepare some protective equipment for you." However, Lixia always follows the rules of the rainforest, commonly known as a jungle person. This means this merman has no legal awareness, and no common knowledge whatsoever. Therefore, if during your time living together, the fish does anything that crosses the line, we advise Rands to call the police immediately. After hearing this long explanation, the Black Panther doctor felt like he was floating in the galaxy, wondering, "Where am I? Who is this?" So it turns out they were asking if he knew martial arts, to ensure the safety of the adopter's life. Just how dangerous is Lixia? While Rands' soul was floating off into the universe, a sizzling sound suddenly came from the computer. The Black Panther thought his computer's CPU was overheating from the call, but when he looked down, he realized the sound was coming from the association's side. "Keep it down. Didn't we just finish up?" The interviewing employee turned his head and instructed a colleague. The situation at the association wasn't looking good. Black smoke was billowing from the ceiling. Two employees, one holding a fire extinguisher and another holding a cardboard box, were rushing to clean up. In the middle of it all, Lixia sat on the sofa, looking extremely annoyed. No wonder that guy had his face pressed against the camera earlier. Turns out he was trying to hide the chaotic scene behind him. But while you can hide the image, you can't hide the sound. The noisy sounds from the other side snapped Rands. Back to reality. He leaned in closer and asked worriedly, "That's not a fire, is it? Is everything all right on your end? Is Lixia okay?" No, it's fine, it's fine." Hearing Rands' question, the specialist was extremely flustered. He hurriedly broke out in a sweat and reassured him, "The fire has been put out." Since the guardian applicant already knew, the employee went ahead and explained, "Our office building doesn't have a place to accommodate Lixia, so we had to let him stay temporarily in the warehouse and even provided a heater. But he set the temperature too high, and the warehouse's electrical wiring isn't very stable." In short, nothing happened. It's just that his bed was burned, so he's been sulking, the employee explained, while glancing at the merman's annoyed expression. Lixia was acting like a big boss right now. They offered him calcium and vitamin supplements, but his face clearly showed his displeasure. While the employee was busy watching Lixia, Ranz on his end also spoke up. Whether I become Lixia's guardian or not, I hope you all can be patient and take good care of him. Lixia is a very gentle and obedient merman. The gentle and obedient that the Black Panther doctor mentioned is probably the type that gets angry at the drop of a hat, and even swings his hand to hit people like this. Right, Mr. Employee? After hearing that, the polite smile on his face was about to crack. If this is gentle and obedient, then I don't know who's fierce. Ranz had no idea what the situation was like over there. Right now, he was still tearfully recounting his story. My wish is that I can't bear to see a pure, adorable child like him get hurt. Yeah, pure and adorable. The employee wished he could move his face aside, so the guy on the other side of the computer could see the current situation clearly. Yeah, the pure and adorable child of the Panthers was now jumping onto the arm of the sofa, baring his teeth and glaring at people. And he's copping an attitude too. Do you think being an employee is easy? Looking at this, who is the pure and adorable one here? Lixia was still fuming, but he glanced over absent-mindedly and immediately saw the Black Panther on the computer screen. So, out of curiosity, he immediately walked over to take a look. The employee broke out in a sweat when he saw Lixia approaching, while Ranz, seeing him, blushed beet red and immediately transformed into a foolish panther. Lixia, are you okay? Ranz, the fish that was just fiercely yelling and hitting people, the moment he saw the Black Panther, immediately switched to pitiful and pathetic mode. Didn't you say you'd let me live with you in a place with a warm bed and food? Are you lying to a fish? Look at this. How could anyone not fall for that? No wonder Dr. Black Panther keeps getting tricked. Our merman just made a single sound like that, playing the victim for less than 10 seconds, but his attitude already flipped as he glared at the staff member, as if to ask, "What are you people talking about? Don't tell me you won't let me live with Ranz? Oh my god, this is so unfair." The staff member was completely intimidated by the merman's glare. I don't know anything, oh my god. Although I don't know what this merman is trying to convey, I wonder if he's going to jump up and attack me. Boo-hoo, this is so scary, I want to go home. The poor staff member was stared down by the merman, scaring him out of his wits. At this point, he couldn't care less about the interview. He just wished this little troublemaker would be picked up soon. So, Ranz had only said a few words, when the staff member on the other end hurriedly shouted into the computer speaker, "Mr. Ranz, your guardianship application has been approved. You can come and pick up Lixia now. Of course, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. Our lives are in your hands, Dr. Black Panther." Of course, the staff member didn't dare say that last sentence out loud. He could only urge Dr. Black Panther to come as quickly as possible. Okay, I'll be there this weekend. Ranz didn't expect things to go more smoothly than he imagined, so he was delighted and promised to come on the weekend. Only then did the staff member on the other end let out a sigh of relief and end the exhausting video call. In a place the staff member didn't know about, the doctor, our Dr. Black Panther, also breathed a sigh of relief. I can't believe things went so smoothly. I can finally start living with Lixia soon. Dr. Black Panther was overjoyed just thinking about the merman. But, hey, before that, maybe I should go and change out of this suit jacket? What kind of fashion sense does our panther have? However neat the suit jacket on top looked, the boxer shorts he wore below were just as tacky. It just goes to show, through a screen, you never know if you're talking to a person or a demon. Meanwhile, back at the Marine Animal Protection Association, right after ending the call with Dr. Black Panther, the staff member immediately turned to inform Lixia. He said he'll be here very soon to pick you up and live with him. Yay, 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 yay. This news was the best thing our merman had heard all day. Upon hearing it, he immediately ran off to pack his bags. The group of employees, who had been tormented by this merman for days, breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that someone was finally taking this troublemaker away. Go on. Go bother someone else's life for a change. Unbelievable. Even as employees of the association, there are times when you just can't handle these little menaces. Those poor staff members. Hello. Soon enough, the day arrived. Today, Ranz made a point to go to the association early. Finally, after finishing the paperwork, he was able to bring Lixia home. As soon as he opened the door and led Lixia inside, the Black Panther happily introduced, "This is my home. From now on, this is where you'll be living. Do you like it?" Lixia's face was expressionless, but hearing these words, he turned his head and smiled, squinting his eyes at the Black Panther. Although he currently didn't understand a single word, smiling first seemed like the right thing to do. Sure enough, Dr. Black Panther had no idea that the fish boy didn't understand what he was saying. The man just thought Lixia was smiling because he liked it, so his face immediately lit up with joy. But while the merman was curiously observing his surroundings, the Black Panther was still happily thinking to himself, the people at the association during this time must have taught the fish boy a lot of the language. It seems to be very effective. Perhaps we'll be able to communicate gradually. Well, if talking at cross purposes counts as communication, then sure, as long as the Black Panther is happy. This is your room. From now on, you'll sleep here. Rans gave Lixia a tour of the house. When they got to the bedroom, he opened the door and introduced it to the fish boy like this. But the doctor said so much, the fish boy only understood the single word sleep. So, without a second thought, the merman crawled under the table, as if asking if he was supposed to sleep here. Although the fish's nest was very clean, sleeping here would be a bit cramped. It's over here. This is a bed. Dr. Black Panther, seeing the innocent fish boy hugging a pillow and peering at him from under the table, broke into a sweat. The language barrier is terrifying. The man had no choice but to use his hands, gesturing emphatically towards the large bed in the room, to make the fish boy understand that he should sleep over there, not under the table. Once Lixia understood and climbed onto the bed, Rans then pointed out the floor-to-ceiling window in the fish boy's room, meaning that outside was the swimming pool for when the fish boy needed water. He just needed to slide the window open to get out. Turns out, this Black Panther, in order to raise the fish boy, was quite willing to invest. But I wonder if he can handle the fish boy's troublemaking nature. While Dr. Rans was introducing the pool, the fish boy next to him had already climbed onto the bed and wrapped himself tightly in the blanket. The fish boy was just trying it out to see if the bed suited his taste, but Rans panicked, thinking the little one was scared, so he quickly explained, "This place is very safe. You can do whatever you like." The thing is, the merman had selective hearing, so he understood this sentence perfectly, and so, under the bewildered gaze of the panther, named Rans, Lixia sprang up from the bed, grabbing the hem of his shirt. With a grunt, the fish boy stripped off the shirt he was wearing, and threw it onto the floor with a plop. Oh my! What a beautiful spring scene. Dr. Black Panther was caught off guard by the fish boy's sudden action, causing his face to turn completely red. He quickly turned away, covered his face, and shouted, "Hold on a minute, what are you trying to do?" "Who's trying to do anything, doctor? He's just hot." So he took off his shirt to cool down. Why so tense? Rans, who was initially embarrassed by Lixia's sudden action, but very quickly, he no longer cared about that, because as soon as he turned to look again, the young man saw a red patch on the back of Lixia's neck. The little one was also scratching it vigorously with his hand. Dr. Black Panther was confused. He didn't know if the merman was having an allergic reaction or something, but when he looked at the shirt in his hand, he finally realized those people actually hadn't cut the tag off before giving the clothes to the merman to wear. No wonder he was so itchy. Rans's heart ached for his little fish boy. Seeing the little one still scratching as if he wanted to peel his skin off, he quickly stopped him. "It might be because your skin is sensitive. Later, I'll apply some ointment and lotion for you." As he spoke, the young panther touched the red, scratched part of Lixia's neck. Suddenly, his face started to turn red again. It seemed Rans had just sensed Lixia's pheromones. But a merman's pheromones shouldn't be that easy to sense, right? The more he thought about it, the redder Rans's face became. His eyes were glued to the other's fair neck. It could be that the glands have been stimulated. Dr. Black Panther actually smelled a faint lemon scent, coming from Lixia. The more he smelled it, the more agitated he became. His hands started to grope the fish boy's neck more intensely. The scent of citrus fruits is slightly stimulating, a scent that only aggressive subraces possess. But Lixia is clearly so gentle. Just as Rans thought this, the hand on the fish boy's neck was stopped by another hand. Lixia, slightly annoyed, turned his head and called out to Dr. Black Panther. The fish boy's annoyed expression, mixed with a faint blush, successfully charmed the Black Panther, making his heart pound. But right after that, his hand was slapped by that certain gentle fish boy, and it stung. So much for gentle. That's what you get for groping around. Serves you right. The slight pain from being hit quickly passed. Rans then led Lixia to the wardrobe. While choosing clothes for the little one to change into, he said, "I've prepared some clothes for you. You can pick and wear whichever one you like." Wear. Lixia understood this word. So, as the fish boy put on a shirt, he thought, "Do I have to wear all of these clothes now?" He was told to wear whichever one he liked, but the fish boy Lixia didn't understand that at all. So, however many shirts Rans handed him, he piled them all on, until he couldn't wear anymore and was draped in clothes. At this point, the little one tiredly asked, "Is there anything else to do?" "Yeah, he means he'd rather be working. Making me wear this whole pile of shirts is unbearable." "Something else?" Dr. Black Panther had no idea what Lixia was thinking. Hearing the little one ask, the man handed him a few more shirts. Only then did he explain, "There's nothing else in the house that you need to do. Right now, you just need to adapt to long-term life on land." The merman couldn't even understand a short sentence, and yet the doctor then started gesturing wildly and explaining a whole long spiel. "You need to walk around a lot, so your bones can adapt to the environment. Without buoyancy, gradually adapt to gravity, and also drink plenty of water. Slowly get used to being on land. Wear thin, soft, light clothes first, to avoid irritating your skin, blah blah." Another 1,000 words omitted for being too long-winded. Lixia only heard about half of it before his fish brain overloaded. And yet, Rans was smiling happily, like a father who had just finished a lecture, and assumed his child understood everything, even though the little one didn't understand a single word. Time passed quickly like that, and soon it was time for dinner. Rans went into the kitchen and rolled up his sleeves, ready to show off his skills to win over the little fish boy. But before he started cooking, Dr. Black Panther started to sweat a little. At the scene before him, in front of him was the little fish boy. Lixia must have just come in from playing in the pool outside, but he was soaking wet. Every step he took left a puddle of water on the floor. And yet, the fish boy was completely oblivious, as carefree as a crazy fish, happily humming the multiplication table song. So weird. After seeing this scene, Dr. Black Panther suddenly had a thought. This little one is obedient, it's true, but no matter how you look at it, he's a little strange. The strange fish boy, in the doctor's mind, now soaking wet, scooted closer to him. He was also curious, leaning over to see if Rans was cooking. Seeing the 3 ingredients that Rans had prepped on the kitchen counter, Lixia acted like an expert, pointing to each one and naming it. But he must have made up these names himself, because they all sounded completely wrong. The red dragon fruit was called an orange's descendant, and broccoli was seen by him as a small tree. And the hairtail fish? Well, a sea creature like Lixia couldn't possibly get that name wrong. It was still just a hairtail fish. Okay, 2 out of 3 were wrong, but the little fish boy still crossed his arms, very proud of himself. He thought he had basically mastered the food on land. So impressive, right? Truly a genius. So brilliant that Dr. Black Panther standing beside him couldn't make any sense of it. While the fish boy was feeling proud of his knowledge, on the counter, something else caught the little one's attention. Lixia looked at the bowl of egg whites with a curious gaze. He couldn't resist reaching out and poking a finger into the bowl. Afterward, the deep-sea fish, with a look of utter confusion, stared at the slimy liquid. On his 2 fingers, a completely absurd thought appeared in his mind. Could this be snot? Yeah, chicken snot. This troublemaking fish really does have some bizarre thoughts. And as if that wasn't enough, while the little one was confused, Rans on the side smiled and explained, the egg whites have to be cooked before you can eat them. Eat? Eat? Lixia heard this and almost broke into a sweat. The fish boy's face was now a mixture of confusion and intense disgust. Eat this snot-like thing? Humans are so gross. There's no way this fish is eating that. Lixia, full of disgust, quickly turned to leave this place. Before leaving, he even casually wiped his hand on the Black Panther's shirt. This fish is such a menace. Ding! Asterisk Lixia turned to leave, and as he walked past the microwave, the sound coming from it startled him. His wary eyes were fixed on that dangerous object. Rans looked at the innocent little fish boy, feeling both amused and a little helpless. He quickly ran over to explain, don't be scared, it's just a microwave. After saying that, he opened the microwave, took out a cup of milk from inside, and handed it to Lixia. We were busy traveling all afternoon and you haven't eaten anything. You must be hungry, right? Drink some milk to tide you over. The fish boy heard the 2 words cow's milk, but didn't know what it was. But he still instinctively reached out to take whatever was offered to him. Hot. Holding the freshly warmed cup of milk, the merman was extremely surprised. That machine clearly had no fire, yet it could heat things up. It was truly unbelievable. Seeing the merman's amazed expression, Rans took the opportunity to score some points with him. He happily offered to teach the fish boy how to use it. It's unclear if Lixia was even listening, because at that moment, he was completely fascinated by the microwave. He even reached out to touch the machine, and praised it. You are very good. What an inexperienced little fish boy. His innocent actions are so adorable. Rarely seeing Lixia like something, Dr. Black Panther took this opportunity to start explaining how to use it. The main reason was so that when he went to work, Lixia could heat up his own lunch and dinner at home. But despite the instructions, it was hard to say if the fish boy could actually learn it. All he did was nod his head like a pecking chicken, letting a fish use electrical appliances. Dr. Black Panther was perhaps being a little too optimistic. While Dr. Black Panther was enthusiastically teaching, the phone on the table started to ring, signaling an incoming call. Rans turned to answer the phone. While he was busy talking with the staff from the association, the fish boy Lixia behind him had started to mess with the microwave. The person on the other end of the line, after asking about the situation, then asked what Lixia was doing right now. He's playing with he's learning how to use simple household appliances. The Black Panther then turned his head to look at Lixia. Only then did he realize the little fish boy was excitedly putting broccoli into the oven, preparing to heat up the small tree. The panther watched and broke out in a sweat. But just a moment later, the words of the person on the phone made him even more surprised. Go to school? But right now for him, even elementary school would be a bit difficult. As Dr. Black Panther said this, he didn't know what the other person said. In the end, he could only say, okay, I'll think of a way. Goodbye. As soon as the call ended, Dr. Black Panther's face looked like it was about to collapse. How could they think of this? The little fish boy can't even speak properly, and now he has to go to school, and they want him to systematically integrate into society? What a bizarre request. Rans turned his head and looked worriedly at the fish boy. So be it. he'd have to find a way to get Lixia into the school, where he works, and see how it goes. As for a certain fish boy, at that moment, he had finished microwaving the bowl of snot. Seeing it heat up and solidify made the little one panic. So much. The microwave is truly magical, isn't it? Fishy? It's just too much. Speaking of school, in the art club room, Li Yu's group was currently focused on their own work. Only little Mujin had her face down on the table, sighing. After canceling evening self-study, on the contrary, there was nothing to do, which made the girl feel super bored. But even if she was bored, she had to endure it, because the midterm exams were coming up. That's why they were given a week off, to review before the exams. Li Yu, who was sitting on the side reading a book and eating a cake, also felt extremely bored. Being so idle in the clubroom like this, it would be better for the pup to just go home. Just as he thought this, the little one saw the fox named Lu appear outside the door. When Li Yu saw him, he immediately asked, "What are you doing here?" "Not going home. The one who wishes he could go home can't maul, while the one who can go home likes to linger and play." Seeing that Li Yu had spotted him, Liu didn't linger, peeking anymore, and just came inside. He was carrying a box of cakes in his hand, implying that he bought snacks for his friends in the club, to eat together for fun. Oh, whatever the reason, being given food by a handsome guy made the three girls in the room blush immediately. "Oh, Student Liu, why so sudden? You guys have bought things for us to eat before too." "I bought this, and I can't finish it all by myself anyway. I thought we could all share it." The fox named Liu started again, pulling his manipulative nice guy act in front of his classmates. Li Yu, sitting on the side, felt nothing but anger hearing his BS. This guy was secretly trying to buy a good reputation. By doing this, it was as if he was saying that Li Yu hadn't reciprocated everyone's kindness. Look at that, isn't it just perfect? Clearly everyone was even. No one owed anyone anything. The pup is very annoyed, but he's not saying anything. Meanwhile, Liu had already taken out the cake he brought and placed it on the table. Whoa! It's the apple pie from the shop in front of the bus station. Mujin was the first to widen her eyes in surprise. The other two girls followed, their eyes sparkling as they cheered. "It looks so delicious. I've been wanting to eat this for a long time." Hearing the girls' compliments, Liu actually turned and pointed to the little pup beside him, implying that Li Yu went out to buy it for everyone first. After saying that, where the other students couldn't see, the fox named Liu even winked at Li Yu, conveying to the little pup that he's a really good guy, right? Sorry, but right now Li Yu doesn't think he's good at all. He just feels goosebumps from this fox's ingratiating tricks. With apple pie to eat, the girls started setting out cups, preparing to make tea to go with the cake. The little pup sitting at the table, watching them gather to get water and make tea, just felt tired. What kind of club is this anyway? I don't see any drawing, just eating and drinking. The girls were busy making tea, and Liu thoughtfully cut the cake onto small plates. When everyone had gathered around the table, the club activity officially changed to enjoying tea and cake. Hearing the girls praise that apple pie with black tea is a perfect match, the gossip monger Liu then turned to look at Li Yu beside him with a meaningful expression. Yeah, the apple pie smells really good just by itself." The little pup broke into a sweat being looked at like that. He held the fork in his hand, not knowing whether he should eat the cake or not. So this is where this guy was waiting for him. No wonder he was so kind as to buy apple pie. The little pup, annoyed, picked up his teacup and took a sip. Then he made a disgusted face and commented, "The apple pie is good, but the black tea is hard to drink. It stinks." The little pup originally intended to jab at the scent of the fox's black tea pheromones, calling them stinky. But who knew the girls would be completely confused after hearing this? One asked, "Does the tea stink?" Another wondered if it had gone bad. And another one took a sip and said she couldn't taste anything wrong. Only then did Li Yu have to wave his hands in confusion, quickly explaining, No, I was just saying that randomly." As soon as the pup's words fell, the phone on the table vibrated. It showed a video call from Big Bro. Seeing his brother call, Li Yu answered without thinking much. Then, Li Hui's voice came from the phone, making Liu, next to him, look over with interest. Li Hui called to ask why his little brother wasn't home yet. "Didn't you say there was no evening self-study this week?" Blah blah. After asking with concern, he then instructed, "When you come home, can you stop by and buy me a bag of colored paper? I need it for kindergarten tomorrow." After hearing his brother's long request, Li Yu nodded, saying he understood and would buy it on his way home. He thought his brother would hang up after he agreed, but who knew that his big brother, on the other end, would have his eyes light up, noticing the strange scenery behind his little brother. So he had to ask right away, "Wait, where are you and what are you doing? The background doesn't look like a classroom." He's so observant. The little pup, being questioned, started to panic and stutter, I'm at a club activity." "A club activity?" Those words successfully triggered the mother hen, protective instinct of Li Hui on the other end of the phone. And so, Li Yu quickly found himself being lectured on the spot. "When did you join a club again? Don't tell me it's like before, messing around with those delinquent kids again?" Li Yu, being scolded by his brother from afar, could only hold the phone away from his ear. On one side, the pup turned his head, unable to look. But he didn't forget to explain, "No, I joined the art club, feeling that his words might not convince his big brother, so the little pup quickly turned the phone camera around, as if to say, if you don't believe me, see for yourself. There are no bad students here, just 3 girls. As he diverted his brother's attention elsewhere, the little pup took the opportunity to stand up and push down the head of the fox next to him to prevent him from getting into the frame. He was done for. While Liu was being pushed down and sweating, Mujin on the side had already started greeting Li Hui. Hello, I'm Mujin. I'm Li Yu's classmate. Hello everyone. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply you guys were bad. The mother hen, Li Hui, seeing the girls, his attitude softened considerably. He even smiled and waved his hand very cordially. I won't disturb you anymore. Please continue your activity and have fun. It's okay. We're all members of the art club, Mujin added with a smile to reassure the big brother on the other end. Don't worry. Mei Tai, seeing the pup's big brother, also showed a look of admiration. So Li Yu has a big brother. I'm so envious. Bianca, sitting to the side, also smiled with squinted eyes, resting her chin on her hand and chiming in. It would be nice if I had a big brother too. The 3 girls, you, say one thing, I say another, making it awkward for Li Hui to hang up. By the time Li Yu finished hiding Liu and turned the camera back to himself, Li Hui on the other end had a completely shocked expression. Why is the club all girls? Don't tell me you. Li Yu, hearing the words, and seeing the hesitant expression of his brother, was frightened into a sweat. He quickly blushed and explained, Huh? No. What are you thinking? What else could he be thinking? The pup's big brother is definitely thinking you're in a puppy love relationship. Li Yu felt helpless against his brother's ridiculous train of thought. So much. In the end, the little one had to stutter, There are guys too. Which guy? This guy right here. In the end, Li Yu still let Liu appear on camera. But if that was the case, why did he push the little one's head down to hide in the first place? Look at Liu sitting huddled and hugging his knees. He looked so pitiful. The pup really threw his friend under the bus. Well, since he was already thrown under the bus, Liu had no choice but to force a smile and greet him. Hello big bro. He smiled. But as soon as Li Hui saw him, his sense of caution immediately rose. When he spoke, his tone was also much harsher. Why is it you? What are you doing? Well, you should ask your little brother that. The fox had no way to answer that question. Since the little pup caused this mess, Li, you had to rack his brain to come up with a reason. He's, helping me tie my shoelaces. See? Everyone gets along really well. Haha. Liu, having just crawled out from under the table, hearing this nonsensical explanation, could only purse his lips and stay quiet. Finally, Li Yu couldn't make up any more stories. He had to say he would be home soon and then hung up. Seeing that the little pup had hung up, Liu now sighed and looked over. When he spoke, he got straight to the point. Your brother even wants to control you joining a club? Yeah. Liu bowed his head, nibbling on the apple pie, and replied while eating, because something happened to me at my old school's club. That's why I transferred here. By the way, after saying that, Li Yu secretly made an assessment. The apple pie is very delicious. Could it be that you're really that delicious? A hee. Whether he's delicious or not, you'll only know if you take a bite. Pup, the fox next to you is more than willing to have a taste. But before that, as soon as Li Yu looked up, he was met with 4 pairs of eyes. 8 big, round, sparkling eyes. Their identical gossipy expressions startled the pup. Being pressured by his curious friends to tell the story, the little pup had no choice but to bow his head and sigh, then recount it. At my old school, I joined the track and field club. But because of my small stature and not being a sports student, I was a bit ostracized. Even when participating in competitions outside of school, I was always made a substitute. In fact, the a bit ostracized was Li Yu. Understating it. Back at his old school's club, the students there always looked down on him. They would constantly use sarcastic and cutting remarks on the little pup. Sometimes they'd criticize him for being short and weak, other times they'd tell him he should know his own limits. In short, it was all harsh words, and they didn't even bother to say it behind his back. They always chose times when the little pup was there, and said it loudly for him to hear. After being excluded many times, Li, you got used to it. He no longer had any major reaction to those words, but just because he wasn't angry didn't mean others weren't. There was a very kind upperclassman in the club, who had always looked out for the little pup. After hearing those remarks, he stood up for the pup. Then, an argument turned into a physical conflict. The conflict escalated into a massive brawl, which was very serious. At that time, even though the little pup tried his best to intervene, a group of people who were stronger and bigger than him, he basically couldn't stop them. In the end, the incident caused a very negative impact on the school, and so, the secret Li Yu had been keeping was discovered by Li Hui. In the end, his brother had to transfer him to another school. As Li Yu told this story, the kids who were just gossiping with excited faces had now bowed their heads and fallen silent. The entire atmosphere quickly became very heavy. Lee, you saw this and broke into a sweat. He quickly forced a laugh to lighten the mood. But that upperclassman was super strong. He beat them up pretty badly by himself. Turns out, it was his story, but now he had to be the one to comfort others. Seeing Li Yu laugh as if nothing had happened, Liu couldn't help but reach out and stroke the little pup's head. He said softly, "Don't try to liven up the atmosphere like this." After saying that, Liu smiled and commented, "Actually, transferring schools can be considered a good thing. At least you can get away from that worthless bunch of people." Liu said that out loud, but in his heart, he was secretly rejoicing. He didn't know if he should thank those idiots or not. Without them, how could he have met such an interesting and silly little pup? Lee, you felt that Liu had a very good point. Now, without those classmates who like to exclude others around, it's really good. The little pup said this while shyly scratching his cheek. Liu found him extremely cute. He couldn't help but reach out and stroke the little one's head again. Could only turn away, unable to look directly. Even though they didn't want to ship them as a couple, is there really no romance between these two? The three fangirls felt like they were breaking a sweat over this pure friendship. Right. As the afternoon sun began to set, it was time for Dr. Black Panther to get off work and go home. These past 2 days, he had been busy at work, leaving Lixia at home alone. He wondered if the little one was lonely. Dr. Black Panther was lost in thought as he opened the door and went inside. At that moment, as he said the words, "I'm home," the doctor's heart couldn't help but feel a little flutter of anticipation. He didn't know why, but this feeling of having someone at home waiting for him was really nice. What was so nice? Before Dr. Rands could think much, an image of the little fish boy in a pink apron, happily running out to greet him with a gentle expression appeared in his mind. "Welcome home. Would you like to eat first? Or take a bath first?" But as vivid as his imagination was, when he saw reality, the Black Panther became that much more desperate. It was still a greeting of, "Welcome home," but the scene of him eating chips while holding a huge glass of water, sprawled out on the sofa like a king, was a bit different from his imagination. Damn it. It's not just a bit different, it's a world apart, okay? This lazy fish Lixia is too much. And where did he even find that shark outfit to wear, with only his head sticking out? How can he be so freaking cute? Yes, Rand saying he was desperate was a lie, but the doctor was more worried about Lixia's laziness. "Why do I remember you lying here when I left this morning? Now that I'm back, you're still here. Don't tell me you've been watching television all day?" As he spoke, the young Black Panther took the bag of chips from the fish boy's hand. "Eating too much of this stuff isn't good for your health." Next, he reached out, unzipping the shark outfit while nagging, "Didn't I tell you to move around more? Why do you like this sleeping bag so much?" He was only halfway through his nagging when he switched to a scream in a very high-pitched tone. "Why are you not wearing anything underneath?" Lixia, having his zipper suddenly pulled all the way down by the other person, was about to suffocate, but at that moment, the Black Panther was embarrassedly looking away, so he didn't see. "You can't be like this. Starting tomorrow, you have to go to school and learn common sense and social skills properly." What is go to school? Lixia didn't understand anything Rands was saying. Why did he say the fish boy would just eat until he's full and wait for death, but now he has to go to school? What's going on? Faced with the merman's innocent expression, Dr. Black Panther quickly pulled out his phone. While showing him a picture, he explained, "School is a place to learn. Look, this is where I work. Everyone sits in a room like this to study." He explained so much, but Lixia only heard 2 phrases like that. All day? Meaning he has to sit and study like that all day? Just hearing about it made him feel exhausted with life. Hearing the young Black Panther say that he had to go to school starting tomorrow, the deep-sea fish suddenly raised his hand and fluently said, "I want to request a stay of execution." Huh? You're not going to jail. What kind of execution are you staying? Rands broke into a sweat hearing this. Why did you say that sentence so fluently? I told you to watch less television. You can't learn anything from movies. Hey, that's not true. Sometimes movies can teach us a lot. But because this fish boy doesn't understand land creatures yet, his interpretation is a bit off. Just a bit off? Being scolded and forced to go to school, the fish boy Lixia immediately entered angry mode. He just crossed his arms, pouted, and lay on the sofa without saying a word. The young Black Panther sat beside him, and seeing the fish boy's attitude, he could only sigh. He had a hard time convincing the principal and the head of education to agree to let Lixia enroll. He just hopes this little one doesn't cause any trouble. The signs are already there. How could this fish possibly go a single day without causing trouble? The atmosphere between the 2 guys immediately became rosy with floating flowers, making the 3 girls present